AT&T had a cell tower go down, like at the same time that our internet was down.
Oh.
And I didn't know that. I just had no phone and no internet. I don't have cable TV, so I'm like, oh my god, is this the apocalypse? Like, is this a fucking
the world
year?
ending?
Is this
right
what
now?
happens? Like,
Funny.
I couldn't. Those guys were coming over for Kill Team. I had to put the iPhone in satellite. Is phone working?
All right, I started the countdown.
Okay.
I
Is
thought
the
fucking
world ending?
dude. Well, how do you find out? Oh yeah, let me just
Right. Yeah.
call someone on the landline. No, turn on my television. No, go outside and listen for screaming.
It's like that episode of the Twilight Zone where the power goes out in the neighborhood and they're all stuck in there. And you get to know your neighbors real well.
We know our neighbors pretty well. Their internet was out still. It was still like, what the fuck? It was fucking stupid.
Oh man, I got some songs for tomorrow.
I went ahead and shared that stuff with Mac. I shared it with you guys too if you want to look at it and see where we overlap.
I saw it, yeah.
I took some of because I took his idea, which was we're not going to necessarily share and spend time on individual tracks, but more talk about composers and soundtracks they've done. So I took like 3 or 4 composers I really like, and then shared some soundtracks they did, and then provided him with example tracks on YouTube if he wanted to grab audio from them. Guys, so good.
one, actually. Weirdly enough.
Boy.
Oh,
My name is Max Stein, and welcome. And I love
Boy.
video games.
I'm the MegaBuck. I really love video games.
my name is Raph, and I also love video games.
He's even shopping for video games right now.
Yeah,
I know,
yeah.
dude. Whoops.
Whoops,
I was on the screen.
Welcome to the Game Treasure Podcast Weekly Watch Along, where we are subjugated to videos that Buck pulls for us off of the internet.
The internet, is that thing still around?
This week, we were going to go ahead and finish out the back half of this Killer Instinct documentary.
All right.
All right.
Unless Buck has anything in particular. Did you have anything you wanted to show us that's any greater than, less than?
Oh, not unless you want to watch MagFest concerts instead.
Let's fill out this
Yeah.
Killer Instinct
I think we
thing.
could finish this up, yeah.
I end up talking so much about video game music tomorrow that
Well, it's like a precursor. It's like a warm-up.
Right,
Yeah. This has got a lot of talk about music, too.
Yeah. I actually, funny enough, I realized that sorry, my green screen's fucked up and it's drawing my attention away. The guy that did the music in Doom 2016 also did a little bit of music in that Killer Instinct reboot.
No way.
Mick Gordon.
Mick Gordon.
Mick Gordon,
Yeah, Mick
yeah.
Oh,
Gordon.
yeah.
Didn't know that. A little fun fact.
I think he's British. So's Tim Fallon,
I'll bet he's British.
who I know we'll talk about.
BFG Division has got to be like one of my favorite songs in any video game ever. So metal. We'll talk about it tomorrow.
All right.
So when that you wanted.
Well, I could fire this up and we can just talk over this a little bit instead.
Sure,
All right,
absolutely.
why is this, what's
Oh, I
going
don't-
on here in this bit?
Well, we still have about an hour left in this documentary if we actually watch the whole thing, give or take, minus the credits, I guess. So we had to recap. We talked about the history of the original Killer Instinct, the combo system, reviving it, and then they had just gotten to the point where they're talking about when they were launching the reboot of Killer Instinct for the Xbox.
Okay.
Word.
Launch time.
Lunchtime, no
I think
launch.
would be announced at E3 2013 as an Xbox One exclusive, something that, due to the murky details surrounding the console's DRM policies at the time,
Xbox One
wasn't
exclusive. What's
exactly
that?
received with much positivity in the FGC.
I
And
don't know
again,
what I'm
Killer
talking
Instinct
about.
coming out later this year, exclusively for the Xbox One. We have a great partnership with Microsoft and with Double. Yo!
Everyone at Evo booing.
Shortly after the announcement, it was
because
also
Microsoft,
reported that the
huh?
game's release would be a departure from other
If you don't
titles like
remember,
genre, as it would
when
adopt a
Xbox
free-to-play
One
model not
launched,
seen
there was a
before
bunch of
fighting games.
weird
Ken and
DRM
I
shenanigans
Oh,
going
you're
very
on.
much like, hey, how do we
right, I
decide
remember
the
that.
game difference?
Where it was like,
'cause
you own these
if you
games,
look
yeah,
at
but if your
genres of
Xbox
games,
One
there's so
loses
many
internet
people that play-
connection,
some
you
people
can't play them.
consume all the content of an
What?
Right, I
individual
remember
game,
this. They had to
but
constantly.
my
What
past
happened with the
experience
whole
with strategy
Xbox?
games
Was it
showed
Games
me
for
that
Xbox Live or Games for
30%
Windows Live or
of the
whatever?
market
Like,
at the time
yeah,
was
there's
in
certain games that you
Conquer
just
games.
cannot
30%
play
of people
anymore.
played multiplayer.
So at that point,
70%
Microsoft was
of the
really
people
yucky,
Never touched multiplayer.
and so nobody was happy
And if
hearing
you look
that.
at fighting games, you're like, wow, you know,
Was
we
that
put
like
all
a
this
s-
effort
like
and time behind story
them
modes,
trying to
but there was a massive investment,
do the
right,
authentic-
for story modes
authenticity
like that. And I think
factoring
about all
on
the
your
time
game,
and
basically,
Right.
resources that would have gone
constantly.
into
Yeah.
something like that,
Right.
right?
Okay.
Yeah,
You look
like
at our
if you
project,
disconnected
like,
from the
okay,
internet, they
here's
assume you're
probably
cheating and
not
stealing
something
things
that we could put all
immediately
this effort into.
and
We've got to
turn
make sure
off
that the
your
fighting
game.
itself is amazing. You know, we wanted
Wow.
to make sure the networking
Right?
code
It was stupid.
amazing.
It was
We've
a
got
mucky
other
muck
priorities. So
making
what
a
can we do
decision
here, and
for
how can we make
everyone.
a fighting game
Right.
that caters to the way that
Always
most
a
fighting game
choice.
people play.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Always
yeah.
good.
not everyone plays.
They're
every character
stealing
in a
the
fighting
game.
Actually, most people don't, unless they're dabbling through the story mode or something like that, and then they go back to their, their mains and their secondary pocket characters and stuff.
Their mains and their
How can we
pockets
take
and their-
advantage of that?
Yes,
and how
yes,
can
yes.
we do something
yes,
that's
of course,
really
their
fair to the
pockets.
players?
Yeah.
Like one of the things
Yeah.
that
Do you
Ken and
guys
I were
do you guys
adamant
like
about,
climbing the arcade
because
ladder
we're
in
in
fighting
this
games?
era of kind of very
No.
predatory
No.
microtransaction
You don't? Yeah.
processes.
No, I want to
Honestly,
play
What's
another
your role in that?
person.
Like, how do we?
I think it's fun. Every once in a while, like if I
And that's
don't
kinda where
feel
the
like really
discussion
like
came from of,
messing
like,
around in rank,
okay, what
sometimes
if
I
we
just
sold
jump into the
characters
arcade mode
individually?
just to like fuck
So let's
around,
imagine
you know.
incredible
really
success.
used to-
In that
I'm
world,
trying
what
to
I would
think of,
prefer us not to do is do what
I mean,
fighting
back when
games
you
have
had
done
to
in the past.
unlock fighters in
Here's
Tekken, that
13
was a
characters.
reason to
Next
do
Yeah,
year,
it,
there's a
right?
reason to do it. Yeah.
I
14
think it was
characters.
the main reason
Oh, and it's
why I
Turbo.
liked
And again,
that,
nothing against Street Fighter. I love Street Fighter. I bought them all.
Shaolin,
But I also think that
whatever
that
it's
led
called,
possibly to some of the
Mortal
demise of
Kombat
fighting
game where you
games.
play as
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sub-Zero
In the early
and
2000s of,
Scorpion,
do
but
I
you're
really
not
wanna
really
play
fighting
fighting
games.
Shaolin
Fighter
Monks.
as a normal
Shaolin
That's the one
Monks.
that's got the
No,
block
I'm sorry,
button,
you're
right?
playing as
That
Kung
different.
Lao and
So what
Liu
I was
Kang.
saying
but
was
then
Yeah.
you
maybe we could
unlock
make a fighting
Sub-Zero
game
and
where
Scorpion later.
if we do a sequel,
Mm.
it's
Because it
all
was
new
like it
characters.
had a
And if we
lot
do
of the
something
mechanics
new,
of a
like the
fighting
difference
game.
between
Like
KI1
obviously
and
not
KI2,
all of them,
well, we
but
just retrofit
scratch that is. You know
what
what's
the
really
people
doing that
already
for me
have,
right
and
now,
it's free.
in a
So
judgment-free
if you own
way, is
season one,
that
when season
Ninja
2 and 3
Gaiden
shipped, you could
2
go online
Black.
Oh,
and
yeah,
fight
yeah.
against all those
Cool.
characters.
That game
You
is
didn't know them.
really
If you
fun,
like them, you
and
can
it
say, well, I like
feels
I like
kind of
Conrad.
like a
Can I
fighting
just,
game.
Can I just buy Conrad?
That's cool. I love
Yes,
that.
You
really
can.
good.
You could have season 1.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes like I just don't. Although ever since I started playing more ranked matches, I kind of like mostly just do ranked. And if I'm gonna run in anything else, I'll do like I'll fight the V rival or something like that in Street Fighter 6. They have that virtual rival.
Maybe that's all you care
It's
about.
like run by AI, and then you can
Just
kind of train
have
against it.
Jago
And sometimes I'll do
from
that.
season
But
1.
yeah,
You own
like
a piece
King of
of
Fighters
it's gonna
though,
live
like
with you
I only
forever.
really
If
play
this
the
is your
arcade mode
main,
now because I know
welcome
people
to the
online are
community.
such legacy
Wanted to be
players
able
of King of Fighters
try
that
and
they'll
build a
whip my
fighting
ass.
community that
I
didn't
think I have
shrink
PTSD from the
time
90s
version
when
came
all the
Yeah.
computers were
Yeah.
cheap and cheated.
sometimes I
Like
to joke
Mortal
that some
Kombat,
games
for
are
example,
Street
right?
Fighter 2 is a big one, yeah. Yeah.
In Mortal
rather
Kombat
than leading
2,
that charge,
Yeah.
you have to
we're gonna
hit
try something
forward
completely radical
and a
here,
button to
and
throw.
we'll see if it works.
Yeah.
And the
And
computer
I think
could
that was
throw
part of
you
that
while
process
walking
with
backwards.
KI was like, okay,
Oh,
It's like a
God,
human
yes.
can't even do that.
That's impossible.
And so there were those tower challenges that are basically exactly what you're saying now. I think I just have like some PTSD from the computers being such
I feel
a-holes.
that. No, legit. Like apparently, I think it's like every copy of like Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, like the US version of that one, the like computer was just locked on like the highest difficulty, the coin muncher mode, and yeah, like it's impossible. Yeah, that's what they coin muncher mode. Yeah,
The beauty part is the kids keep coughing up quarters. You can't get to the next level.
it's like famously incredibly difficult.
That it was going to be this small game that launched with as many characters as they possibly could put out.
I know this guy.
I just wanted to go to a store and
Maximilian,
Killer Instinct off
the
their
dude.
shelf and have that
I've seen this
experience.
guy in like
Just knowing
fighting
that
game
KI was going
streamer
to be a much
circles.
different kind
I
of
just
fighting
got a
game,
physical
made me kind
copy of that
upset and
in
made me
for
feel like
the
they were
warehouse like the
approaching
other
this like
day.
it wasn't a real game.
Of what?
However,
Killer Instinct.
Oh, Killer
as we
Instinct.
know,
Nice.
That one they
Monolith,
just showed on
this
screen.
Season model
Oh,
that
I see, I
Killer
see.
Instinct sort of adopted, that this is the beginning, this is season 1, that's what it was started as. Is
Man, I might look for a
eventually what
copy of this
fighting
for the
games
Super
would become
Nintendo.
now. And KI was technically the first
I'll
time
be
down to
to
grab
have that,
one.
where
It's got a
Fun.
couple
I
of
never,
those.
I
so
never
many
played them
characters,
before. I
so
thought
many
it'd be
stages.
fun.
By
First
the
one
end
is
of this
great,
first
and the
season,
SNES,
Double
the
Helix
SNES
was working
port
on it.
is a really
We're
good
gonna have
port.
8 characters.
Cool.
We're gonna have
Only
more
thing you lose
stages.
is
We're
like
gonna add
size
more
of
stuff.
sprites.
We
Like
have
the
an
characters
arcade
are
mode
much
that we're gonna
shorter
add,
in
and
the
this
SNES
came and
version, but
sort of
Yeah,
trickled
that's-
over
yeah.
time. The
That's
thing I
fine.
didn't realize
I think they had to
was that the
redraw them
barrier
all
of
because
entry
they were
for the
just
game
too
was
large.
Pretty simple.
Yeah.
The fact that if you wanted to just jump in and just get a single character,
I need
but
another
it was
another
free,
holder for my
is
SNES
something
game.
that I think
I'm running out of
adopted
room
more
here.
people to a fighting
Did you
game
guys
than
know this when
possibly
this launched?
think.
It was so
For
weird
me,
that
over
like you
time,
bought
they sort of
individual. It was
developed what the fighting game model
it was like the
could
first
be.
fighting game
What
that
an
did
easier
that,
way is
where
to
you
get
bought
people into fighting games
characters
because people
if you
love
wanted to.
characters. People love
How many
just
like
the
did it
fact
come
that
with a
there's
lot of
50,
base
60,
characters at the very
75
least? Like
Smash
that's
Brothers
four.
legacy characters in fighting games that will sell people on the game.
That's
they play.
tragic.
It was
There's a chance
it was
it's probably
free,
less than the amount
and
of
they put a
hours on
character
one
on
hand. There's a chance
rotation,
it might just be
or you
one.
could buy a
The
thing and
fact
it was
that
going to be
KI
like
gave you
6
that
characters
option
by the end
and
of
get
that.
access to the full game, I thought was huge.
If you didn't remember in the previous episode when we watched, they decided with like less than a year to go that they were going to do this. So they had to go from concept to launch in like less than a year.
This is something that you like and want to get into. I'm all for it. I want to do that. We just wanted to expand the options beyond the norm. That's so we could get more people to play. All we ever wanted to do was have people play KI.
I do remember seeing the announcement. I actually saw it through Max's video. Me personally, I didn't really care. 100%. Everyone knows that. Like, I saw it and I'm just like, cool, they brought it back. Not my thing. When I picked up my Xbox day one, I was supposed to hang out and play with my boys. Oh, let's play Battlefield 4, blah,
boys.
blah. I'm like, sure. Turned on
Hang
the
out with my
Xbox
boys.
and like, hey, you can download
Not
KI.
my
Play with the
I was
boys,
like,
bro.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. I downloaded it. I never jumped on with my boys. I played for 8 hours.
It felt damn good. It was actually very surprisingly easy
think I
just
could
to
ever
pick
play a
up, you know,
fucking
because
fighting game.
I wasn't like really good at it. I just played it, you know,
Right?
casually,
Unless
but I had
like
a lot of
4
fun
or
with it.
5 people came
But
over
this
and we
game,
round robin.
it felt
Come home and I would be
almost
fucking Jack
like
Torrance
natural
from The
picking it
Shining.
up.
Like,
The
I'd be
combos was real elegant, and beautiful.
go
and
play.
As far as
Makes
like
you
how
happy.
cast,
All Killer Instinct and know anything good.
I just want to have a. That's the best thing about Ninja
badass
Gaiden
dude, just
Black
like
is
hitting
that
the
it is.
tomahawks.
So I think KI
You know,
season
if
1 was
you
actually
if you
a pretty
listen
fun
to
game.
the
I mean,
podcast,
I bought
you
an
know
Xbox
that
One
I
for it.
hate
They sold
when
me on a console I had no
people
intention of buying.
when
One of
game
Season One's
developers
main
like
strengths was that it
sort
was
of
really
are like, oh
good
man,
looking.
I don't know how to
The
like
characters were all really
make
well
this feel
animated.
cool,
They
so let's
really
just
brought
make it feel
forward this,
hard,
like,
and that's how the guys feel
fluidity
hard.
and
Instead, it's
sort of
just
aspects of
like
these characters that before had
it
only
has
existed
this
in the
limb
90s, right?
chopping
Where they, you know,
mechanic
you had to fill in a lot
where
of the
you
gaps of
chop
how these
up
characters animated
limbs
and
with
looked.
this
And they did
like
it-
the
I thought
light
such a
button, and then
fantastic
if
job with
an
the
enemy
art
has
direction.
its limb chopped off,
The
you can
netcode
execute it
definitely
with
enabled our
the
community,
strong
for
attack
sure.
button if you just walk
That's
up
fun.
to it.
Started
fun.
Discord
That's
And
fun.
so
Day
you
that
just
began.
are
It
wasting
was just a
people
weekly
left and
tournament every
right,
Sunday.
like
And
just
at
so
first, a lot
quickly.
of
Like
people
it's
didn't
like
pay any mind to
the
it. Every
my
offline tournament,
counter argument to
you
my
would hear of a
Batman
guy's
Arkham
name from that
Asylum thing,
tournament
where it's just
or
like I feel like
from
you
the
don't
ranking
fuck
system.
people up fast
for me, that
enough
person
in
was
Arkham
gnarly beats. So I
Asylum,
saw
like to
him
be
up there. I was
canon
like,
with
who is
the
this?
comic
You know,
books.
who
Like
is this
Batman
guy?
just
He's
like
the
punches
only
people
orchid on
twice,
the
and they're like
leaderboard
done.
directly
You know what I mean? Like I
into
don't give a
CEO.
fuck
The
that he doesn't have
first
super
CEO, okay, I
strength
was
like
at,
Spider-Man. Like
he made top
he really
8,
will just knock
and it
people the
started
fuck
being
out.
more
Like
apparent.
Batman will break a man's hip with a single kick.
right, and so
Yeah.
in that game you end up having
They
to
were
fight some of
definitely
the bullet
Done that.
spongy guys.
Batman
for
whooped
a
the hell out of me.
while, and it's like I don't know
Yeah.
about that. And then Ninja Gaiden, you run up to like a demon that is like 3 times your size, and you like, and then you cut his arm off, and then you like dodge to the other side of him, and then just like do this like execution thing where like the camera spins around and you cut his head off, and it's just like. Let's fucking go. Like, you just are just fucking people up with a cadre of weapons. Like, it's been great so far. I've been loving it.
That's, you know, it's funny. Like I used to love the like difficulty sort of like style of playing, and as I've gotten older, I realize that when I come home from work, sometimes I just want to slaughter things. Like I just want to be willing to like. I want to be the one who's slaughtering things. I don't want to get slaughtered myself. You know.
I've finally kind of gotten the rhythm. It's strange because it's like
we were
this.
trying and
It's
experimenting
a little
with all
bit
these new things.
older of an
We hit
action
all our target. We
RPG,
hit
and
our
so
financial
it
target.
was
I
before
had a
everything
user
had a
target before
role.
we
Like I think
shipped.
it was
Yeah.
before
I
Dark
say we'll hit
Souls was
swinging
really a
And
cult
no one believed me.
phenomena.
And
Yeah.
people would say, yeah, of course he's
Oh yeah, the
So,
second
you
one
know,
would have been like
you
original
said ago,
Xbox
we-
or 360 rather.
Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I think Demon Souls is probably out at that point, but Dark Souls hasn't come out yet.
And Demon
There's
Souls
no-
was not very
Sorry,
popular
Demon
original
Souls not
initially.
popular over here. It's
No.
like-
And
I
you
played it, but
mentioned there's no lock on in the Ninja Gaiden game too, right?
There's
Like
no
Ninja
lock
Gaiden
on
3, yeah.
because it does like a thing where you press attack and it'll sort of lunge towards the person that's closest to you. Or
Very
if you
God
press-
of War.
if you
Oh,
press
the guy with the wall is
direction-
back.
You press the direction and
Oh, shit.
it'll go towards the person, any person in the direction that you're pressing. And it feels pretty good once you learn to do a little give and take with it, sort of thing. The timing of the enemies and everything.
multiple times, and it was
it's got a different camera that you have to work with than in Dark Souls, but I like it better. The camera, although you have to fight with it a little bit more, which is saying a lot because you have to fight with the camera in Dark Souls quite a bit.
It was a surprise to me.
Hence the claw.
Yeah, Dark Souls is right behind you. You know what I mean? Whereas Devil, I almost called it Devil May Cry because that's what it's like. Ninja Gaiden is more like Devil May Cry, farther pulled out. Not always right behind you. You have to swing it behind you a lot of times.
It's our baby, though.
Like,
we
to see the things you want.
It better.
But once you get used to it, you actually don't end up swinging in it a lot because you're really.
Basically the idea that
it's funny, Buck. It reminds me of Taekwondo. I've realized that you have to get the enemies in a line. Like, do not get surrounded. It's the opposite of Batman, where it's like you kind of are designed to attack guys all around you. You really want to pick a guy and kind of hone in on this guy, and you do it by by making sure you don't get completely surrounded, so you got a bunch of guys you're dealing with because everybody attacks so quickly. And so you don't have a dodge, and instead when you block, when you hold block, you can press a direction to like quickly shimmy in a direction. But besides that, you just walk at one speed, which is like run, but not necessarily sprint. And so it's cool. It's kind of you got to play a little bit of footsies with the enemies. You kind of like got to pull up to them and then like because you can't dodge necessarily. You can only dodge from a block. And so
damn it, you sold me. I'm gonna renew my Game Pass and play it.
It's been so long.
You have so many weapons, and they've been introducing them at a clip that doesn't seem. It's not like these guys are like weak to these weapons, a la rock paper scissors. And these instead, it's just like here's some nunchucks, here's a harpoon,
like Devil May Cry.
Yep, just for no reason other than just like, do you like this?
Well, it changes your fight style, changes your playing style. If you're faster or slower or stronger, what suits too.
Just whatever
Like
you want.
God of War 2, the newer
I've
God
been
of
playing
Wars.
with the-
That's
the
what
ones
I
in
was
the
thinking.
middle.
Yeah,
chuck
exactly. Yeah.
sights, and I was like, this whoops ass. I just like these weapons. I think they're cool.
Sighty chucks. I don't remember if I ever played this. I played the crap out of the first Ninja
Me too.
Gaiden
I don't
Black,
remember
but I
playing the second
don't
one.
remember. Yeah, I don't remember anything about the second
That
one.
was one of those
Really good.
no.
Interesting.
So that's a hard no. Like we will be Amazon, and so.
So I don't know if you guys remember, but Double Helix, the guys that created this Killer Instinct, got bought by Amazon.
Like it was.
Like less than a year after Killer Instinct came out.
Did they make that one game that didn't do so well that Amazon made? What was it the RPG?
MMORPG.
New World
I
or
don't
something
know.
like that. Right?
But the point
I mean,
is,
it was
in
sad.
relative to
It's
Killer
like we were
Instinct,
already
the
approved,
point is
we were gonna
that
do
Amazon
season
said,
two,
yeah, you can't
and
work on a
suddenly they
Microsoft
disappeared.
game.
There
You're
was
Amazon now.
Succinct sadness.
So they had to
Oh.
find a
from
new
many of these
developer
people,
if they were going to
and there were
continue
lots of
Killer
jokey
Instinct.
Conversations of inside. Hey, we should just go get a building across the street and put up a Killer Instinct studio sign and see if
Amazon being
come.
shitty?
But we
Who
literally
would've
didn't want to
thought?
form a
Well, they didn't want to
new
make any
out of
money
some
for
personal.
Microsoft.
Fighting
True
games
that,
are
yeah, right,
an
yeah.
endeavor, right? And you need people that know them.
It was
and
like two
God
scumbags
forbid
in a
they
room
develop
yelling at
a
each other.
relationship.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Matt
Or
Booty
God forbid they
was
say,
the
now we're going to
best.
take Killer
He
Instinct
was
and put it out on
we
multiple
talked about
consoles.
The whole thing
Yeah.
we presented,
No,
like, this is
we want you
what
to play it
happened.
on your
He's like, well,
TV.
Instead,
should
we're
find another
inventing this
developer for it.
cube game
And the subtext
console
there
or
was
whatever.
make
Called the Ouya.
And
Yeah.
that was such a great feeling to be able to have an executive at Microsoft.
That's what I
be
think of
like,
whenever, what's the
believe in
Amazon's
it,
one? The Luna?
Go make more, figure
Dude,
it out.
Buck, you
We
know what
really
I
believe in
recently
the title.
realized?
We all
Hmm.
feel that like,
Nani?
hey, we have
Both
something
my smart
special
TV
here.
in my
So we did a lot
Oh,
of
yeah.
work to
my smart TV
secure
in my
that we have
bedroom
funding for
and the
season
smart
2.
TV in my
Now
living
that we
room
have that part locked down,
have
we just need to lock the developer down.
Steam
IGN
Link
was already one
available
of
for
the
them.
group.
Built into the
They did a really
TV?
good page
like you
Yeah.
can download
Cool.
it from their app
Season 1?
store.
Uh-huh.
So you
What
can just play
company
Steam
that
on your
actually
TV.
TV,
I know
right?
you
how
swing your
to
shit over or whatever with the
literally
cable,
drop
but
into
me and
another
Raph
person's
were,
home
or like,
base
you know,
and
so I
help
was playing
them
with
to,
Tish.
like,
She was
do an
like
amazing
UFO
job to
50
finish
on
their
the
titles. That's one thing that
in
IGN
the
is really
freaking
good at.
living room.
Number
Just with
You know,
my
it's funny. I
basic
mean, I do that with my
stuff.
Steam Deck, obviously. I'll like, go in another room in the house or go lay in bed and play. But it's funny, I do it the other way around with my PS5 now. I use the PlayStation Remote Play app, and I use my computer and my computer monitor to remotely play my PS5, so I don't have to go like sit at the board game table to play PS5
Right.
games.
Yeah.
I played Metaphor almost exclusively through the PS app on the PC.
Yeah, I'll use the Xbox
All
app
those
if
apps
I said
together,
people are using the
literally
TV, like
on
what
that same
we'll be
day,
watching
I
football or
basically
something,
said,
and then
like, okay,
You know what's really dumb though?
rabbit ears.
I can't put a DVD or a Blu-ray into the PS5 and then use the remote app to watch it like sitting at my computer desk. It'll be like, no, that feature's not available. Like, what do you think I'm doing? Like fucking logging into my PlayStation remotely and broadcasting movies in a bar or something
Yeah,
and
you're
charging
trying
admission?
You're trying to Ocean's 11, Ocean's 11.
Jesus
We're not
Christ.
gonna let you do that.
I got the Whitest Kids You Know entire series on DVD for Christmas, and I just wanted to watch some episodes on my computer screen while I did other work, and it's like, nah, you got to watch it on the TV.
It
I'm like,
immediately sent an email to Sony that was like, "Oh my God, new idea! We have a new idea. Someone just thought of something really smart, which is what if you could watch DVDs in your bed via
Even better. This goes to the
wireless?"
infinite respect for Double Helix.
so dumb. They have it. They block it on purpose.
To overlap
Yeah,
the
for
trains
sure.
So annoying.
and Galaxy and
Why?
It's really
everything they
stupid.
do now.
Exactly, because they think I'm fucking broadcasting it to a public space, like that
Meanwhile,
episode of The
and we were
Simpsons.
giving them,
You put in like a
overviews
Blu-ray
of how
copy of
everything
one of the
works,
Sony Spider-Man movies, and it
and,
works
trying to
perfectly.
get
Whatever.
Probably.
steamed onions
Probably
and
built into that
already
software there.
before
Yeah,
we
yeah.
I've watched so much
kind
good
of
Whitest
get
Kids
off
You Know over the last
Yeah,
week or two.
that's awesome.
opportunities to
That's
ask
so good.
questions, you know,
Dude, your
how does this
ball
work?
is
How do you do
hanging
this?
out.
How do you do that?
Why
And
is
we
your
tried
ball
to,
hanging
you know, set it up
I gotta watch
best
more
for
of
them.
that.
My favorite
We
Whitest
do
Kids You Know skit is still Civil War on Drugs because it's a
That's-
whole movie.
That's funny because that's like my least favorite, just because it's a whole movie.
It's a whole movie. It's so funny too. I don't know, dude. The whole like keep breathing scene, just every time it fucking gets me. I don't know what it
The
is.
funniest thing is on the DVD is like the first time I've ever gotten to see the uncensored one, because like anywhere
Yeah.
else you watch it, like the gory stuff is blurred out and the boobs are
Right,
blurred
yeah,
out and all
yeah.
that stuff, and on the
Right,
DVD
yeah.
it's so funny. The one where the kid gets the blue whale penis grafted to his head, and I've only ever seen it with it blurred out, so I didn't know what it looks like. And he walks in, and it is this giant blue dick on his head. I mean, it's like 3 feet long, and the whole skit, it's flopping around the whole time he's talking. It's flopping around.
Yeah.
You don't understand, Mom. You're just not cool. Did that just split whale juice all over my kitchen floor? Timmy as the mom.
It gave us
Oh man,
God damn, they're good.
an impossible
They are so funny.
I genuinely miss the whitest kids you know.
Including a 1-week on-site boot camp to help Iron Galaxy get up to speed with the tools needed to continue development on Killer Instinct. And soon it was off
Kids in the Hall was great, dude. I
Kids in
used
the
to
Hall
watch
was
that shit
pretty funny.
any day that I had a day off from school. I would watch Kids in the Hall.
And I would watch it and be like, okay, this is gonna be funny, and then I'd watch it and be
What a
like,
deadline.
I don't
So
get
that was a
it.
really
I'm
tough
a kid.
Right.
Hitting the ground running.
My favorite is the God is Dead skit, and they were like, God is dead, and apparently he's only 3.5 feet tall. Apparently God's really short, and you see the little body in the body bag, and it's like really tiny. It's a great.
We have enough time to actually do that.
It's like the thing
now,
that
or
really
can we
surprised
save it
most
for later?
theologians
Because
is
we
that
don't wanna
God is
jeopardize
actually
the
quite
entire,
short.
Release and tease for the second season.
Can't believe they're not
It was
British.
kind of hectic.
Right. Canadian.
Fortunately,
sounds so
Microsoft had
British.
already written
Yeah.
their own
Yeah, they're very
design
Canadian,
document.
but it is, it's both. You know, I feel like it's very much both.
I guess, yeah, they're like,
I
well,
think
them and
pretty much
Australia
95%
are.
of that design document.
Yeah, don't they like
Stepchildren
worship the
of
Queen,
it.
right?
I don't know.
And we just got
Little Auntie Donna, Big Old House of Fun.
Microsoft came over to help out as well, and he scripted up the entire
Like that show hooked me when in the first episode they had Randy Feltface on. Like Christian Shaw as the dishwasher and Randy Feltface, the Muppet, the comedian that I love. Like, I love you guys because he's Australian.
More so with Iron Galaxy.
He's Australian too. Yeah, that purple puppet.
Cowboy.
Partially because
I
love
Funny. Yeehaw, make me, I'm a cowboy.
Was in the dishwasher washing the dishes or whatever.
Christian Shaw
Hurry up,
is the
cowboy.
freaking voice, is the voice of the dishwasher. She gets kicked out and she applies to be their roommate again, but wears like a mustache or something.
But the goal was not.
I love Bob's Burgers because of her.
Oh, and like what is the dishwasher has the sign that will eat ass for dishes. So what does it
Something like
say?
that.
Something like that. It's
hilarious.
like or for nothing. Like
Yeah.
after like
Yeah.
will eat ass
That's
for
good.
this or
So
nothing.
She did the voice of the sister on Gravity Falls also.
She's so fucking funny, dude. Like my like first thing I ever saw her in was I think Flight of the Conchords. I want to say where she plays their only fan.
Not the quality you would usually show.
Their one and only fan.
That's great. She's in an episode of Whitest Kids You Know, the one where Trevor dates the homeless lady.
Oh shit! I don't think I've seen that one.
They literally they go out and they're like, "Did you feel that?" And they go out on a date and everything else and everything's really great. She's homeless and he's like, "Hey, I think what we have is something real, so I want to take it slow." And she goes, "Oh, I understand." And he goes up into his apartment and he leaves her there sitting on the stoop. And she's homeless. She can't go anywhere. She like just curls up to like sleep on the stoop. And he comes outside and he's like, "Hey, could you?" Yes. Okay. Like he bought her flowers and chocolates and stuff, and she's like, "What do I do with these?"
He had 4 weeks of development time.
So funny.
So the challenges were not just on the dev end; it was also on the community.
I got to see some of the developer commentary, and Timmy was the cameraman for that skit, and they filmed it one weekend in like Jersey or something when they were there for something else, and she was there with them.
And just taking it and putting it on another piece of hardware or up-resing it. So I was very, very cautious about this entire situation. I wouldn't say I
Did
was
you know,
optimistic
Mac,
because I
that
honestly
the
really
second
wasn't.
studio that took
But
over for
once we started
Killer
seeing
Instinct, Iron
how
Galaxy, was based in
fast
Orlando?
Iron Galaxy was taking stuff and making
Oh,
it
no
as
way.
good as they possibly could. They hired me after doing the trailers of this first season.
Or like
of
Winter
AI
Park,
to
you know, but
immediately
it's all the
start doing
same.
the trailers of the second season. I was in-house with them as they were
Small
literally
studio
figuring this stuff
or
out
like
as they were
Yeah, they're pretty
working
small.
their
They
butt
did
off to get
they've
TJ
done some
ready
other
for
stuff
E3
and
with,
they've done some other
I'd
stuff
say
since
only
then,
maybe a
but
month of
UCF
time.
students, I
The
bet.
fact that they were able to get stuff done
Probably a
so
lot,
fast,
yeah.
the fact that they were able to condition
Or Full
themselves
Sail,
to
yeah, that's true.
making a fighting game. and
Was it
adding
what was
systems
it
and manipulating what
shit
the
the Blair
previous
Witch
engine had
Project? That was
done.
UCF
They
students,
killed it.
right?
Oh, was it?
So the characters
Cool.
in season
Yeah,
two,
yeah.
I think,
Actually,
are
I know the
a lot
guy
of
that-
players got to see where this game was going.
Valencia, okay.
That's a big
I
difference.
know the
from
guy
season
that
one
did the
because a lot
sound
of what
work for
Double
that.
Helix
I
was doing
hung out
was
at his
trying to
house one time.
recapture
Tony
the
Cora.
imagination of the original games.
posters,
Name
all
drop
the
that
work
right there.
Valencia's
I
filmed
feel season 2
college,
and the
like,
future of KI
from
after the
1997
first
or
season when
whatever,
Iron
these
Galaxy
old-ass
took it over resembles a game like
sun-bleached
Darkstalkers.
posters in the hallway.
Characters have a lot of really
When I
unique
graduated
things.
UCF in 2003, they still had Dante
Systems kind of
Culpepper's
dramatically
jersey
changed
hanging in
character
the
to character where
Wackadoos bar at the
he's
student
living
union.
legend.
Oh, Wackadoos, that's right. I forgot that there was an actual literal bar where you could buy a bunch of alcohol in the student union there.
Yep. It was connected to the arcade. I spent all my time in the arcade.
Hell yeah.
We want a season 2. It needs to be Killer Instinct.
There aren't very many arcades left in Orlando, right?
At the same time, you
I
can't
mean,
make
sure, if you go to
characters,
North and hit up, Pinball Lounge or District Eat and Play or Arcade Monsters.
Original Killer Instinct
Arcade
1 and 2.
Monsters,
So have at
I've never been there. Everyone keeps telling me
okay,
they're
management.
great.
They had
I'll
that
tell you
trailer
that.
that showed like
There's two arcade monsters, right? There's one by
Yeah.
UCF and there's one
I
like
think that one
Broccoli
moved, and
Man?
it's just
What
the
is this?
International
For
Drive
something
one.
like Killer
Oh,
Instinct.
I see, okay.
Really, the one in
Fire
Oviedo's not there
beings
anymore.
and, werewolves
I thought there was
breaking
two of them. That's what my
so.
I was talking.
That
to
one
people
was
who were
like
telling
right
me
next
about
to
it.
Pinball Lounge
and they
too.
went above and beyond.
I heard the one on iDrive is the better one.
I'd never been to that one.
Pretty sure it's the only
There's
one.
also one in like
it's crazy how the first
Daytona-ish
characters
or
were so
something.
cool. Their designs were so interesting, TJ and Maya. And then after that, all the characters
Looks like the Oviedo one's still open.
Animating better. They started having these crazy.
According to the
games. Like
interwebs.
Riptor came out after that. And we're like, what the heck is this character? Is a
I've never been to
dinosaur?
the,
I was like, all right, well,
iDrive
this
one.
game's gone crazy. It's
I
like
have
a
not
run
either.
character,
I've been to the
doesn't have
one
normal
in Oviedo,
backdash,
and then there's
has
another
all
one
the
like,
stance moves and stuff.
you know,
And so,
what
it was one
city,
of those
what
things
beach
where
city is it? If
even
we
though in the
take
beginning, I
like
think everybody's a
192 and
little
just keep
nervous,
going
for me,
east
when
towards
I
like,
saw
you
the
know,
character designs,
Daytona or one of those. Yeah, there's one out
they
there too.
realized
Yeah,
that this is a
yeah,
game
Coco,
where
I think
like
is
a
out there.
ninja guy
Yeah.
fighting like a robot.
Yeah, I haven't
guy,
been to an
fighting a
arcade since.
dinosaur,
I mean,
fighting
like I've been to
a
fucking
guy
Dave
who's
and Buster's, but that's not the same
firefighter,
thing, you know.
a
Like I
giant
haven't been to an
robot. This
arcade
game
since I was a
was,
kid, you know.
For me personally,
Spoilers,
it
I work in an
really,
arcade every
really
day.
stood out when Hisako came out.
Oh, there
This
you
is one
go.
of the sickest female fighting
I-
game
it's
characters I've
right
ever
there.
seen.
Adulting
This
goals.
girl
Yeah,
was
yeah.
immediately like, she is awesome.
Yeah, we had this arcade at like one of the local, like it was like an outdoor mall. Flippers is what it was called, which I'm assuming is maybe a reference to pinball, right?
Flippers, that could be pizza too.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if you know, Mac, but when we were growing up, it was not very long, but there used to be an arcade in St. Cloud.
And like crush your joints up.
When we were growing up.
You know the plaza where
I wouldn't say there was ever a
the
need
plaza
for
where the
anyone
Aldi is
to
now
be experimental.
in St.
It
Cloud
was a
and
natural progression of the
sidelines
idea that all of these characters
behind the
had to be
Tijuana Flats
very
and Starbucks.
okay.
There was that
we did
corner,
our
the corner
design
of that
in,
plaza because it's like an
you know,
L-shaped
maybe a
plaza was an
backwards way
arcade for a couple
sometimes,
years when
Oh,
like me and Ben were in middle
being really
school.
organic,
yes.
where we would
Never
get
went
art
in there.
We played some MK2 in there.
and then have to
Yeah.
look at that art and decide what his
They
I just
had
wanna
one of
say
those.
that,
are we inspired by
okay,
any
go ahead.
piece of
I was
this
just
guy's
they had one of those
visual
Sonic
design in a way
Blastman
that
arcade
makes us think,
machines, which
let's
I have
make a
been
sand
hard
wizard.
pressed to see ever since.
know?
The one
Sonic
where
Blast
Maybe he
Man, like
leaves
the
sand traps
like
around
Dragon's
and,
Quest or whatever.
Scorpion spikes come
Sonic
out
Blast
and
Man
you find
on
all
the
these mummy
SNES was like a
crooks.
beat 'em up.
You know, that
In
led
the
to some of the
arcade,
stuff.
in the
You've seen
arcade,
some
it was a
things
big
kind of
monitor,
look bad on some other characters,
and then
so
in
we
front of
bring
the
blood
monitor,
puddles and
a
have spikes
giant
come out of
like
those, or
like
heavy
in the
guilty
monitor
gear
like
and
a
stuff like that. So it's
train
not
or something would be
totally
coming at you,
We're not
and a
aiming to
giant
be
pad
totally
would
unique
pop
in
up,
everything
and you
the fighting
punched it, and you had to
We're
like
aiming to be
punch the
totally
train
unique in everything
back,
that's
or like a
current.
T-Rex, or like
Oh.
something
Like,
crazy.
happens.
And it was
Okay.
literally one of those
Talking
punching
about
games in
that
disguise.
was badass.
It was pretty cool.
We love the
We
punch
want a
game
big
in our
juggernaut
house.
character. That's all we had.
Me and the
on
boys, all because they
This
had one
slot
of
is
Arcade
gonna be
Monsters.
for
We always be punching the
something
punch game.
massive.
It's very fun.
Look up the
Yeah.
Sonic
feeling
Blast
I
one,
loved
the
having
Blast
in the
Man one, because
X-Men
it's
games.
Very
really
similar
fucking
to
cool.
like
Character
watching
that
a
filled the
fire
screen
while you're
like
camping.
Sentinel or
There's just something
Juggernaut.
primal to like me punch, then you punch, you
Yeah.
compare score.
It's such a primal thing for
Yeah.
sure.
The Sonic
yeah.
Blast Man so
What
great
is the
because
point
you're
of this
punching.
game? You punch this shit.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You punch like a
T-Rex.
T-Rex.
David can really slug his weight
wanted to
around. He's
bring that
getting
to
high
games.
scores in the punch game.
We all agreed.
All on the
that
hips,
was
right?
Cool. We just didn't know what we were
Yeah.
gonna do. Maybe
What were
it
you
was
gonna say,
be a
Raph?
big Frankenstein.
Oh no,
cool.
I saw this
The
game has a
ideas kind
dinosaur
of
as a playable
get
character, and I
massaged a
appreciate
little bit
any
while
fighting
fighting
game that
down
lets me
the
play as a
sort of,
dinosaur.
rock
Oh,
Riptor's
Riptor.
classic.
Yeah,
Riptor
yeah.
is, yeah, he's an
The
original. original Killer
fucking
Instinct character.
Tekken's got Gone.
Tekken also has Alex and Roger.
Yes, an actual
the
literal
Raptor and the
Velociraptor.
Kangaroo.
Yeah.
We had 2 fighting games. No, 3 if you count Primal. Primal Rage. We had 3 fighting games in the 90s that had a raptor in them.
And then one of the animators was like, "What if he built a
I never got to play Primal Rage, but it's a game that like as a kid I didn't give a shit. Like I wanted to play the game where I got to play a dinosaur, and I mean I only found out now in 2025 or 2024 that that game was bad.
really
Yeah,
buggy
it's-
for
it
a
was
really
pretty
long
bad.
time.
Dreams were for
really
naught,
hard,
and then my
but,
childhood was a waste.
You know, we
Because
found
like
some
Street
magic
Fighter and
in
other things
games
with like
because it's
auto
not just
doubles
saying,
and
"Let's
manual
do something fighting
combos, you know, you
games
had to work
don't
for it,
do
but it was a
often,
good
where we
system.
manipulate the screen
Primal
backwards."
Rage, you know, a
It came
3-hit
about
combo
in a
was
very organic
whoa,
way where
and
we
it
were
was
trying
like
to
a
find these
struggle to
characters that
do
could
those because it wasn't
Really?
naturally,
for
it
himself.
wasn't a
We want
well
naturally
designed.
flowing.
You want
It
gameplay
was like
that matches
Eternal
sound,
Champions. It
matches
just
art,
did not.
matches control.
It was kind of like you had
Just
two
comes together and makes
characters.
something
They both
beautiful.
had moves,
And
but
when
it
that
wasn't really a
happens, you get something
fighting
like
game.
Aghanos, which is
I
super
see.
memorable,
Okay.
super interesting to watch. Feels like it breaks the rules of fighting
What's
games
the
in a
game
way
where all
that
the
no one ever has.
the
Not because
fighting
we
game
set
where
out to do
every
that,
hero has
but because
a,
that was the right thing
like
to do for that character.
Human or
Without saying it in a negative
animal
way,
humanoid
Bloody
I don't know
Roar.
if Double
Bloody
Helix would
Roar.
have
You
come
I
out.
knew
ever
where
played
you were
that game?
going.
Oh.
So in a way, there was
Is
this
there a
I knew where you were
Bloody
going.
Roar?
the fact that they
Unlocked
found
a
a way
memory
to
right
bring
there.
They
a
made
new set of
4
eyes
of
into
them.
the Killer
Is that the one that
Instinct
has
world,
the
and they come up
monkey
with
that
this
pisses
crazy
on you, or
awesome
no?
No, that's
And
Primal
then
Rage.
you
Okay,
get new
okay.
legs beyond
Bloody
just-
One
Roar,
PP
hold
can
on.
PP. What is it? One monkey
One
can
monkey
PP on the
on
other monkey.
monkey.
Yeah, yeah.
That's such a good bit.
Bloody Roar. No, I don't know this one.
on the
I thought it was good.
PS1, so it's
Galaxy
3D
and Microsoft's
graphics.
work on season
It
2
was
and
kind of
3
like
of
Battle Arena
Killer Instinct
Toshinden. If you ever
bring
played
more than
that,
just
it was more like
characters
arena
and
battle-y.
improved
And one of the
netcode,
biggest mechanics was a lot of the
lighting,
levels had like a cage
new
around it,
music
but
from
you could
endless
break
plugin
it with enough
Cell
force
and
and just
single-player
knock your
content like
opponents
Shadow
through
Lords
the
would
wall.
also be incorporated into the free-to-play
They
title.
made
Iron
2 or
Galaxy
3
also
for the
brought a change in
PS1, and
balance
they made one for the
philosophy,
PS2, I
taking a
believe.
much more active approach to the method than most
Good
other fighting game
series.
developers at the time.
Yeah, it was
Double Helix
fun. It was
I just
still
loved
it had
how
its
they would like
philosophy. They're like, this is the
thematically
game
translate
until next
the
season. This is
the,
what
like,
you've
the
got.
animals
And my
with
philosophy
the
is
fighting
not like that at
styles
all. I think
of
that
each
I'm much more
fighter.
thinking about
Sometimes,
how
Yes.
things
you know
can
what I
be
mean? Like
in
you
the
would
Yep.
be
future
like,
rather than how they
oh,
were in
this
the
guy's
past.
the
A lot of
guy
my
that
influence at the
does
table is saying, no,
Tai
let's
Chi or Kung
actually
Fu or whatever, and so he
update
turns
this game
into a white
constantly, and
tiger.
let's not
and
Right.
then,
be
like,
apologetic
this
about
guy's
It was
a
cool.
Let's tell the
scrapper, like
fans,
or whatever,
listen,
and so he's
Yeah.
a
every
he's a
time
wolf,
we add a
you
new
know?
character
Yeah.
to
And
this
it's
game,
like,
we're upsetting
it's
the
cool
balance.
like that.
That
Just
was
by
that was
making
cool.
The
That
ninja
was a cool
guy's like
thing.
a fucking
And
bat
things are
or
going to have to
something
change
like that,
every
if I'm
single
not
patch
mistaken. And
that we
so-
add a character.
That was
I don't
very
know. I
cool.
thought it was
Now we
cool.
have
It was
to
like
see how
you're
this
picking
character
one
stacks against
character,
all
so
the
you only have to
existing
memorize
characters.
one move
And
set, but
this
he's kind of like two
problem is
characters because he
exponential.
has like a
And
transformation.
this is a much more
Right.
complicated problem on character 30 than it
Yeah,
was
it's
on
fun.
character
It'd be
9.
cool with every fighting game.
And you have to get the players on board with that
Ryu can
idea
just
that
turn
this
into
is going to be
Ryu
a
mid-match
constantly
and turn
shifting
back.
ecosystem.
It's really hard to find a fighting game that launches first and is good. Like that is like stands the test of time.
Damn, we
It's
gotta
always
get
fun
Sparking
when you're
Zero.
exploring the system, but inevitably,
Dude,
pretty much
I-
every game
I don't know why I thought about that.
I don't have
you
enough
mentioned
time
like
for it.
characters
Too much
and
shit.
game-breaking bugs usually.
Yeah.
Too much
And I
shit
think
is-
Cag
Too
Team
much.
1 ended
Too
up being
much
no
shit.
exception to that.
We were having this
Oh,
conversation
man.
at board games the other night. Jimmy Lake is over for board
Like,
games,
there
and
was,
he's like,
so much
"My dad's
talking about
retired, blah blah
BS
blah, and so he wants
in
to
the
go do
game
this
that
and
was
this and
like,
work." And he's
if you
like,
were
Jimmy
playing
goes,
Saber Roll for
"Fuck
Zero,
that! When I
it was
retire, I'm
kinda
gonna
hard to
catch up
win
on all these
because
video
Saber
games.
having a
For
hero
real,
rank
dude.
I'm not gonna want to go
Too
back
many
to work.
games.
cross you
He's
up
gonna have
and
30
you
years,
more
games,
30
creative
years
than
with
you
a
were gonna hit.
backlog
And
to.
then
Oh,
Sadir
I never played
having
that. Let me
the
spend
best
the next 2
unbreakable
weeks of
combo
my
in the game,
life
so it was
playing that.
really hard to deal with.
I'll be
One of
honest
the
with you, I
main
can't
disadvantages
not
of
work
season
on
one was
something,
that,
but like
the breaker game
I
actually
don't know.
ended up
I'll
not
make a
mattering
game.
that
I'll
much.
make games
Combos
work
in KI are
somehow.
like the big thing about it.
It was
When
just
you get
funny.
in,
There.
you
Platinum
get
Yeah.
this
or something
combo,
on a
and there's
fighting
interaction
game is
between
where
both players.
There's
In
some
season one, the way you would do combos most of the time
Yeah.
is you would start the combo, do anything, the smallest, teeniest bit of a combo, and then do like a shadow ender to end the combo, and it did like 35% every time. So like, why would you even extend the combo at all if you could just take this free, like, big chunk of damage? So if you go back and watch,
I don't know. You mentioned
AI,
arena fighters, and it made me think of Budokai Tenkaichi 3.
like all the
Dude,
combos are like just like
And it made me
one
so
hit,
nostalgic.
One chance, and the combo, 35% knockdown. Like, what happened?
Dragon
Fighting
Ball
games are really
Fighter
hard to
Z is just
and you may
fantastic,
release
but
something
so
that
impossible.
you think like
I
this
can't.
is
So
the way to
Fighter Fighter Z,
Zero,
yeah.
yeah.
And then people get their hands on it and they play it in ways that you never
more
imagined.
manageable.
So one of the things
Also,
that we really wanted to
I don't know.
do
You've
was make
been
sure that
watching
Killer Instinct stay true to the two-way interaction.
or
so we
listening
had
to
to
how
make
did
sure
this
that
get played,
if you're doing
but
something to
they
somebody,
talk about
that person
Sparking
should be
Zero, and
able
they call
to
it
do something in
Sparkling
return,
Zero
and
every
you should also
time
be
they
able to
talk
react
about
to
it.
that as
Yeah.
well. And that
I don't
game
know if
of
that is a
constantly
bit
playing
or if
chess
they
at
do
full
not know the
speed
name of
at
the
all
game.
times.
That sounds like they just don't know the name of the game.
I've heard them
Although
like
right
4
now,
times now they're like, oh, there's a Dragon Ball Sparkling Zero, yeah, and they don't say it with a tinge of satire in their voice.
And they never say it properly.
And it's
I'm
very
starting to
close. It's
wonder.
one letter off, so I can understand. So I'm like, I think they don't know that the game is
I
called
think the
Sparkling
first, I think the
Zero.
first time I saw the,
Zero.
I think the first time I saw the name of it, I thought it said Sparkling Zero. Also, and I was like, that's a dumb name for a Dragon Ball game.
Well, like I was certain until you said that, and then I was like, wait, shit, is it Sparkling? That's why I had to Google it. Like right now, I was like, hold on. Have I been getting this? It is Sparking Zero. Yeah.
It is Spark. Yeah. I think it.
You know, it's 100% Sparking Zero. We all like the seed of doubt was planted, and we all just.
It's a Berenstain Bears.
I think,
Yeah,
let me
Bears.
check if I'm
AI
wrong.
brings
I
it
think
over
they
your
announced
space. You have no choice
DLC
but
already.
to bear yourself. You know, in
Yeah.
front of your
I don't know, man.
I think
engage
that, yeah.
all the nasty sides of your fighting game habits if you don't wanna
Yep, they
expose
did
them.
DLC announcement already, and it's
If you
based
do
off
this, then
of
you
that
understand why
newest
every time.
movie that came
I'm sorry,
out where
I can't stop
Gohan
it.
gets
I'm not
his
that good.
like
I think a lot of
Puberty.
crazy ass white-haired
season two
form,
who are used
and
to
Piccolo gets his
games
like
Gets his first
big,
pubes.
like
Yeah.
hide from my bad habits here. I don't have
It's
to.
either they've run out of
Tell me about my
stories.
pubes, did you?
We run out of
No.
stories. I feel.
No,
I feel like JoJo does a little bit of that where I'm at now. I just watched Kid Polnareff fight the weirdo guy, and Kid JoJo beat the shit out of the guy with the shadow.
Oh, the guy.
I
gotta
watch that show, man.
Kids or whatever.
Yeah, the one that guy that turns them into kids, and the whole
it's a
episode
weird
with the
power.
lady washing Polnareff as a little kid. This little
What do you
pecker.
watch on, Buck? What do you watch that on? What up?
It's on Crunchyroll because it's a little bit better
Crunchyroll.
subtitles.
Okay.
in there.
Social media. We didn't have developers. that had
Crunchyroll's
social
free
media
unless
presence,
you
so couldn't
want
knock
like
directly on the
no
door.
ads,
You
right?
always had to
I
go
have
through
no
a
idea,
community manager.
and I think it
Okay.
depends on what. I think you can't
The
watch
experiment that I
everything
really wanted to
on the
try
free
when
plan.
they
I have
made
the
me
paid
do
one.
combat design,
I
it was
gotcha.
just
But I
go
think
out
it's
used
on
to have
Netflix.
a play
Twitter.
one.
I think
Yeah.
that
Your
JoJo is
Yeah,
also on
somebody do combat design. Let's
Hulu,
have a dialogue.
but the
Probably right.
Okay.
subtitles are really fucking weird. Like I watched the first like 10 episodes on Hulu and then realized it was on Crunchyroll. I'm like, oh, these are way better. They're better sizing, better wording. It's totally different subtitles.
Like I think I've seen like the first 2 seasons of JoJo's, and I never went back to it because I think I like canceled my Crunchyroll subscription and shit. So it's like I want to go back and watch it now because it looks so good.
Well,
It's
if
like
you
a
watch
crazy
2
ass show.
seasons, then you watched like the one where it's about vampires
considered
and the
themselves
one where
top
it's
players
about
who became more interested in
like
I saw the first one
like you didn't see
where
the
it's-
time
Come on,
skip
yeah.
to the part where it's about the stands.
that
Yeah,
was
right where they find the pillar people. Like that's
Pillar.
literally where like I
Okay, so
stopped
that
watching.
is,
Yeah.
in fact,
kind of
in
become a
the
bandwagon
Stardust
of
Crusaders
kind of
area.
hatred
Yeah.
and
there.
negativity
You saw the
towards
Pillar Men.
developers, towards
Right.
their balanced choices. So that was a pretty
When they
crazy
first
adventure.
showed up, that was like the end
I
of
learned a lot
some
about
shit
it,
there.
about
Yeah,
how
I
to
never
play
like continued from there.
That was
I
still
gotta go
Haman. That was still Haman shit though.
Right, there was still
Is
Haman.
it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was still
it is.
Haman. Yeah,
Yeah, because remember AC/DC and Whamu fight Lisa's proteges and stuff.
Oh, okay. So yeah, after that is never mind. After that is the stuff with the stands.
That's Jotaro and Caesar fight those
His
guys.
healing
Right.
is through the roof. I did all that.
And that's
damage.
so
when the
many-
show
He's
gets
got
much
it back.
better,
I'm
in
pissed,
my
Iron
opinion,
Galaxy.
after the
What
Hamon
gives,
stuff.
right?
Like when it
And
gets.
I
It was
think
pretty good at the
Different
point it was
show.
at.
No,
But
it's
yeah,
totally
pretty
fucking
good.
different
It's
show.
pretty good, but it's much better
It's a
afterwards.
that's
totally
what I've
fucking
heard. It
different
gets
show.
better the longer you watch it.
I liked it. I liked the older stuff too. I thought they were both good in their own right.
It's okay. Yeah, the old one's kind of about karate, and the second, or
the
not the
root
second one,
of
but
the problem. We wanted to
when it
find
gets
the
into
disease, not the
Stardust
symptom.
Crusaders, it's
We always
just
had this
like
feeling
the
that the healing
powers
was
that
the
people
symptom.
start having are just
And when
like
we really dug into it, we were
ridiculous.
like, okay,
Like they're not.
Jago
There's
doesn't
no
have any bad
longer
So
about a
good.
guy
the
who can
entire
beat you
game.
up. It's about a
His
guy
worst
who
matchup's
can.
a 5-5. Why is
I don't even know. Like,
Jago's
just
not
think of
weak
the
in
most
range,
obscure thing you
actually.
can think of, and it's
He's
that. Like,
only
that's
kind of
yeah.
weak mid-screen. He's really
Touch your
good
booty
full
hole
screen,
and then you
he's
blow
really
up?
good up close. But as soon
Just
as
like
he's
That's the most obscure thing I could
That
think
would-
of.
that wouldn't
Sorry,
surprise- that wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, that was like the most obscure weird thing I could
No,
think of. I
Max
guess,
right,
at the
Max
moment,
right.
you know? Yeah.
There's an
No.
orangutan
had his best this
that is
So
a
we
user
nerfed
of these
one kick
powers,
for
and
him
his
We did enough
power
to heal him.
is
We said, okay,
like in
medium
the
and heavy wind
shape of
kicks
a
are more
whole
minus.
cruise.
He manifests
liner.
an entire
The medium
cruise
one
ship.
is-
And
That's his
so
power.
When they find him, they
And we told
find a
people why we
big
did it
cruise
in the
liner, and
passions,
the
and they
only
hated it.
person on it
They
is an
all erupted.
orangutan in
This
a
is not
cage.
what
Who's kind of pervy.
And
We
it's,
wanted you to
and
nerf
that's
the
it's
healing.
him
The healing is what was
making
pissing us
the
off.
ship.
Why did you do this? Jago
And
players
that's
are gonna
just
have to
like a
rethink their game
nobody
plan now, so
character,
they're
and then
pissed.
there's
You know-
just like
Everyone's big.
all sorts of.
This is
And then
only
a month and a half later,
tandentially
no
related,
one's
but
complaining
Mac, was
about
it you
Jago.
that told me that you like Edgar Allan
New
Poe?
matchup charts were coming out, and Jago now had
No,
four
was
or
he?
five
No, no.
matchups.
Okay, never mind. Someone I talked to recently told me that like Edgar Allan Poe had a story about like a murder. It's a murder mystery, and the murderer ends up at the end being an orangutan. And I thought that was just, I don't know, it just made me think of that. You know,
That is some
orangutan
stupid
murder.
shit.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. No, it actually. I mean, it's a great story.
pretty
Like.
cool.
It's like, oh, like how, you know, like how did the murderer get in and out of the room? You know, it's on the second or third third floor or whatever, and it turns out that it was
Simple.
a fucking
He's
orangutan with like a knife.
99% muscle, and he broke
Yeah.
through the iron bars with his
Yeah. It was an escaped orangutan, and it was like jumping through roofs, and it just killed a guy.
I thought
Yeah,
season 2
it
was
was
really fun.
Yeah.
And
Good
season
story.
3
Good story.
just got
Yeah.
better
Yeah.
Because they've learned
Yeah.
over the years.
Yep.
You don't have to lie.
It was impossible to
Right.
win the first place.
The same man that wrote
Rookie mistake
The
they made
Raven and the
response,
Mask,
but at
the
time,
Mask
they
of the
had
Red Death,
problems
also
back
wrote a
then.
story
So
about a
you need
fucking
those years of
orangutan that
experience
killed somebody.
Sure, why
to
not?
see the game in
It was
action,
his attempt at
to see
writing
what's
Sherlock
good,
Holmes.
To see what's
Right.
not good,
Bastard.
to see how players play. Like, oh,
Changing
this move
subjects,
we
do you
thought
guys
was
remember
good,
if
turned
if
out
I've
to
done
be
a retro
and over
zone
the
of
years,
any of
you've
the
learned these
Mass
mistakes,
Effect
and
games?
both Double Helix
I
and
don't
Iron Galaxy
think
made
you
their first
have.
balance mistakes, and
I actually
because Iron
just
Galaxy
thought
was
about
on
that the other day
project,
because
they
we
stepped
watched
away
that
from
episode
it.
of Frasier
And
where
in
they
the end,
sing
what
that
we're left
song.
with at the end of
That
season
episode
three
of
now,
Frasier where they
there's
think
no
that one
redemption.
guy
You
is like their
come
father,
back
but
Scientist
he's not.
Valerian.
a stable
Yes, the
game
Scientist
that
Valerian
for a
song.
game
Yes,
as wacky as
and
COI,
I
with so many
immediately thought of
subsystems,
that
so many
particular
characters that come
scene
from so many
from
different
Mass
genres of
Effect.
games and stuff.
I bring it
I
up
think
just
they did a
because
pretty
I've
good
had to
step
create a
forward
whole
with
separate
that
tab in my podcast Excel spreadsheet because I'm starting to forget. We've had enough episodes
Yeah,
now,
right,
but I'm
yeah,
starting
yeah,
to
yeah.
forget what I've done and what I haven't.
Good idea.
And so
Right,
I
yeah,
have
yeah,
I've
yeah.
started a
Community has
running
always
tab
been
now,
at the
but
core
I
of
was like,
Killer
oh, I kind of
Instinct,
want to do a
both
couple of
in its
these, and I'm like,
development
oh
and
shit, have I
continued
done that
success
yet?
today.
I'm waiting
If
for
you
the day
ask
that I
the
bring a
KI
game
fan
and
what
like
some of
one
their
or
favorite
two or all
moments,
three of you go,
some may
Buck, you
say
already did
things
that.
like CD's Evo win in 2014.
I'll be right back.
You know, it's fine if you do, because we can just elaborate on it. You know, we got a lot to say. We always have a lot to say.
This game sucks shit.
The many saucy sweets.
Bandai Namco has a huge sale going on, huh?
Why am I not seeing any of these on Steam?
They show up for a day or so. Like Capcom is having one right now, and now it's not on the front page anymore. It's the Lunar
Up to
New Year sale.
90% off on the Lunar New Year sale.
I'm not seeing any of the Lunar New Year shit. I mean, I'm sure it's there. It's just like it's not on my top page for this game.
Right.
Dead Letter department looks cool as fuck.
Yep.
Horror, typing, mystery, simulation.
I mean, what else could you want?
$13.
Or typing? What the fuck?
$13? No, just
I mean, if it's less than $20, then shoot.
they are up to the. What was
I
that?
bought
was just looking
I
at
bought a
the,
terrible fucking pizza at the Magfest Gaylord Hotel for $16. I'd rather play this game.
What is this?
Beastly
Wheels'
combo.
Losers Run at Combo Breaker 2017.
All right, how do I find the lunar
set?
sale?
Combo Breaker.
What was it? That Gundam RTS game. I just saw it's up to its 30th installment.
Gundam RTS.
Which game are we talking about?
Robo Tyson. I was just
Oh,
looking at this
Super
sale.
Robo Tyson.
Super Robo Tyson 30.
But most all will mention the Killer Instinct World Cup, a culmination
Why
of a community
can't I
organized
see
tournament circuit
these?
founded by Brandon
JoJo's Bizarre
Alexander
Adventure
and his
Park
business
game,
partner
that
David
one.
Rubin.
There's a lot of those. I think I have a PS3 or PS4 copy in right now. When
So,
last
Matt, that
time
was
it-
on. Go ahead, yeah.
And it inspired
No,
me
what did you say? It was on what?
No, it was on sale like a while back for like $10. Now it's on sale for like $30.
Oh shit.
Fuck, I missed it. I missed it.
Dude.
You know, missed my chance.
The last time we went to Japan, they had a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure arcade game, not the fighting game. And I'm like, well, I'll play this for Kyle because I hadn't watched it yet. It was a battle royale game. It was so bad. It was so bad.
But
I've seen it
it got
before.
hard because we didn't really have a budget for like.
There was like
the
nobody else
world
playing
part
it.
of it.
They had like
You know,
4 of
so
them
it's
in
like,
the
hey,
arcade next
you
to our
mind
hotel.
representing us like for like a KI World Cup qualifier.
A lot of it took
And people are like,
place
well,
in like
well, what kind
a
of funding
season
are
you
you
haven't
bring
seen
in, you
yet
know, or
as well.
et cetera. And it was like, oh, we don't really have funding.
That
We just
the
wanna
the content wouldn't have bothered me. The gameplay was just so horrible.
The coolest thing about that is that people were like, so
Like, yeah, I know they have stands. I get it. I pick a different character, and they're all gonna have different special abilities. But it was like wandering around a map, looking for other players, but also beating up NPCs.
Adam reached out to me
And
like, hey man, I'm
it's
doing all this stuff on KI now,
like
and
a
I want to help you out however. I
yeah,
can.
but like
I
not in
think
a
I
good
did.
way.
They wanted this to happen.
So I had already been talking to Brandon
Arc System
Alexander a
Works
bit,
Lunar
just,
New
like,
Year
on
sale.
forums and on Twitter and stuff, because he was like this big super fan. He had a stream
Guilty
that I
Gear.
visited once in a while, and then he starts talking about, you know, oh, Microsoft's not doing a KI World Tour or World Cup. I'm just gonna do it. I'm like, that
Super
sounds awesome,
Technos
you know? I love
World.
community run stuff. I ran grassroots tournaments.
Oh
myself for a
my
very
god,
long
I'm
time.
just gonna send
So
you
I hit him
this.
up directly.
Comes out in
Said,
April.
hey, why don't you send me your plans? Because I've actually done this before.
It's a collection of fucking Technos games, like River City games and Double Dragon games.
Start.
Oh,
And then I called Rick. And I was like, Rick, let's talk to him together.
Ooh la la.
See what we can do.
Damn.
Amp this up
Do
a
we get
little
the
bit,
sports one that we never got?
Actually, I've never really
That would be
spoken to
cool.
Rick. We got on a phone call.
Oh my
and
God,
Rick
that's-
and I just like clicked. Like we clicked, dude. We had like the same vision for stuff, and we cared about KI, the music. You know, it's just stuff.
That's the guy that's in charge of Evo now, the guy on the right with the beard.
Oh
It was like love at first sight.
He used to run Combo Breaker.
You know, Brandon's funding it, and he's got a bunch of great ideas, and I'm there just giving a little bit of guidance, but trying to stay out of it because I'm on the dev side. And Rick is in there just like really saying like, this is how we get that idea done. This is how we make this a reality.
Once we started really getting going on season 2 and more tournaments were happening, I basically took on, I guess you could say, acting tournament director for Microsoft when it comes to Killer Instinct. We had done a fun.
One of the things that was pretty unique about Killer Instinct was
Everything
also
Lunar Sale
the
now
fact
that I
its
dig.
DLC, which was the
Capcom,
first, like, big
Square.
character that was a boss.
Yeah,
in
right,
season
yeah.
one, Shadow Jago.
A lot of
And
good
to make
shit.
him, like,
Too
a
much
real
good
boy
shit.
If people want to
spend
pre-purchase him.
far
The
too much
idea
money
was
on that.
That funding was going to go directly into the Killer Instinct World Cup. So it was Microsoft sort
This
of
was pretty
not
cool.
directly
When they
managing
put
the
out
World Cup,
Shadow
but helping them
Jago,
out in some way, while
like
still
you
funding the
paid to like
creation
get the
of character
character,
that Iron Galaxy
and
would
they
have to
took
make.
the money and
I
they
think
put and
within 2
Microsoft
to 3
put the
days'
money
time,
into
character was completely funded. It hit their
prize pool
$100,000
for the Killer
requirement
Instinct World Cup.
faster than I think anyone was expecting.
So look at that. So that they raised $100,000 in 3 days by being like, here's this character, but the money's going to go towards making this tour, you know, more popular and Killer Instinct more popular.
Like,
It was smart.
There was an insane passion from our fans for the characters. And I see patch notes from modern fighting games today, and some of them make me just roll my eyes in how like almost hostile they are to the players, right? Whereas on Killer Instinct, our whole philosophy was let's bring everyone along, right? Like, let's explain our patch notes. Let's explain what we're doing with the characters. Here's the cool thing we're going to do. How's this, blah. Because it's all for the community. And I think that when the
forgot
Shadow
there was a
Jago
Gears
thing
of War
manifested,
character in
like,
that
hey
game.
guys, this is what we're doing. We've been open with you
General
this whole time.
Ram.
Here you go. And they're like, boom, just did it.
And then we definitely used some of that money and we put it towards Brandon's tour because we didn't know him at the time and he was busy. He was just running. He was just going. I'm doing it. It's like,
Konami
awesome.
sale.
What
Oh,
is
those
this
new
game? Look
Castlevania
how
DS
great our
games are on
fans
sale.
So let's put some money towards them and at least support the pods.
And,
Dominus
I'm
Collection
looking
for
at the
20
dates
bucks.
For, you know, season
3
3 gets
DS
signed behind the scenes. I'm
Castlevania,
looking at the dates for all
Metroidvania
this
games
stuff,
for
and
20
I'm like,
bucks.
We could demo
Oh,
season
shit.
3 at
You don't
this.
have that already.
We could actually reveal the entire balance change live at this thing like we do in our studio.
Still really sitting on the. I mean, well,
So
you
we
know
went
what,
to
Mac, you have a
Microsoft
copy of
behind the
Okami,
scenes,
right?
Will you guys be cool with us doing this?
Yeah, I was debating on whether or not I should buy it on Steam or what.
That was pretty nerve-wracking.
It's like
going into that.
$5
Yeah.
on Steam, but if
Play
you
on
got it, like,
old
oh my
TV,
God,
honestly,
right.
PlayStation 2,
Yeah.
it'll
It's
look
You've got it.
incredible.
unbelievable. Not
You
only
know what,
the
I've got
cel
that.
shaded in there,
Graphics
but
are just
the
so
fact
Dude,
that
I'm at
they would be able
freaking
to refocus
MagFest
and
last
go
week,
through
and
it.
Fangamer has a booth,
And
and they
yes,
always
that's
sell, like, you know, because they sell the
incredible amount of
Undertale shit
detail
and
to
all that
have
kind of
on
stuff,
your
and they
head, even
still
with some of
sell
the scripts.
Okami
It was bizarre
merch,
to see that
like
one.
a shirt and a
One of the
plushie,
greatest games of all
and
Demo? What do you mean
it's just
demo?
cool
Why is it
that
taking
20
3
years later,
hours?
however
I'm
long,
yeah,
they're still
we're gonna
like,
show season
yeah,
3,
we're gonna
right?
sell
So
some of
everything
this.
that you're
We
getting
will.
go step by step.
She has a new shadow
It's like
move,
saying,
actually. It's called
you know,
Air Shadow
why
on Unreal's
Superman
on.
is around 'cause he's so
She
old.
can
It's
perform
like,
the
dude,
Air
it's
Shadow
great.
version of Air Unreal's
I mean,
on.
and like one of the most
think I can
adaptable
actually
characters, you
describe
know?
a
Well, I just
moment
mean, you know,
of
it's
me being in a fighting
been
game.
around
consistently
since the
around
40s.
because it's fucking
That
good.
the Killer
you
Instinct
know, it's
2016
Right, yeah,
was
that's what I'm
the
saying,
Okami.
like,
it was a stage
versatile.
presence. We're
later,
gonna have
not
the best
for its
players in the world
adaptability, but just
jamming it
because
out
it's
on
really
season
good at
2
what
of
it
KI.
does.
Right, yeah,
Plus,
yeah,
they're also
yeah.
gonna have the
Man,
developer
it's,
release all the
it's
new stuff that's
timeless.
going to be coming out in season 3.
I think Superman is
trailers and everything
timeless,
like
even though
that.
he came about in the
The energy
40s.
in the
You know,
audience of
it's
showing people
specific to the 40s, but
character
he's
to
still
character
timeless. to
what
this day.
was going to be happening to their characters, how things
I
were
was
going
As
to
a
be
side note,
the new stuff that was
oh,
going to
go
be
ahead.
adding.
No, you
No, no, go ahead, go ahead. You're good, you're good.
Insane.
It was
I was just gonna
cool
say, Tim.
seeing
I was looking at stuff for tomorrow for
Like,
recording, and Tim Fallon, who we're
everybody was
talking
there
about, he did
beginning to
music
end.
for one of the NES
Everybody
Indiana
was
Jones.
glued to the front.
You made me think of like old stuff and timeless stuff like Superman, that kind of
We're gonna
thing.
listen
I
to
didn't realize that
everything
there was an
about what's
Indiana
going
Jones game
The other thing
on
that's really cool about the
the
way
NES.
Iron Galaxy
Or NES, right?
I cannot remember if there's two or if it's just so when it came out there was one of those Tengen ones, you know, the ones in those black carts that were technically non-Nintendo licensed, like Gauntlet and Super Sprint and some of those. There was a version, and I can't remember if I think that one's Last Crusade, and then I think the one that gets released in an actual NES card is Temple of Doom, if I'm not mistaken. And Tim Fallon did the music for I think Last Crusade. Pretty interesting.
that idea of
I was gonna say, you know, speaking of
so
Superman,
cool because seeing people
I looked this up the other day because like
when their
me
characters
and
get
Eric were
hurt,
watching
it filled me with
that
such
new
maniacal
Spider-Man
happiness,
cartoon.
right?
I was
Like,
looking
I
at
was
like
like, oh,
the
it's so
value
good.
of
And, like,
old
seeing people,
comics.
like,
Action Comics number
literally
15,
mouth
which is the
agape
first
at
appearance of
some
Spider-Man.
changes was, like,
Shit's
super
worth like
crazy.
$3.5 million if you have like a high quality copy. Do you know how much a copy of Action Comics number 1 is?
Oh, it's I think isn't it up to like 10 or 20 million dollars or some ridiculous number?
The one that I saw was like a 9.2 on the grading or whatever, was like $6.5 million. So still a lot, quite a lot. Yeah,
I think it's higher than that now if it's a really good one.
I'm sure it's higher.
There's a Netflix show. There's people that just have money and they want it. They want to be the one that owns it.
Well, and I remember that like in the 40s, I mean, when like Superman came out, like a lot of these comics,
jersey.
A lot of these comics, they were, you know, thrown out by the parents, recycled for whatever, for the war effort, or like, you know, just like thrown away. So there's very few copies of them, and that's what makes
it's not just that. It's about owning, like being the one that owns that thing. Like,
of course,
there's this show on Netflix, that's about Golden Auctions, which is a big auction house out of New Jersey, and they do a lot of pop culture stuff now.
Right.
But they're mostly, they originally were just like sports memorabilia. And there's that one card, the T206 Wagner, which is like the most expensive baseball card ever. And I think it's literally up to something like 20 or 25 million dollars. This is one fucking baseball card. And there's only like 3 in known existence that are a higher grade than like a 6, and this was like an 8 or something like that graded one, and it literally is the most expensive card, if not collectible, in like the fucking universe. But then it becomes like, I own it, you know what I mean? I'm the one that owns it for these rich fucks.
I was very low budget.
Well, I'm saying, like, there's like the combination of like accessibility, you know, and then plus just straight up like people that are willing to pay that much. It's like a copy of Chrono Trigger being almost $400, you know, like out of box. You know, it's fucking sucks, but yeah, there's people that are willing to pay it. They got the money for it, you know?
To own one, yeah.
And Brandon,
yeah.
he had like this idea where just like, yeah, you know, the World Cup's gonna be.
I hope to one day be able to afford,
that
you
was the
know,
basis of it.
a loose copy of Chrono Trigger at the very least. I mean, I can probably afford it now, but like, it's not an easy buy. I can't justify that purchase. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'd have a hard. I love that game, but you'd find even me hard pressed to spend that much money on it. But it's not going to go down. It's not going to go down.
Oh no, it's not going to go down. No, the only thing you can hope is that my income goes up.
That's what's happened. That's why the price of those goes up, because the nerds, their income goes up, and then they fucking will spend that money on that shit, and it just they're not making any more of them.
Right? Yeah.
A tight development cycle. Launching on a new system with an untested
I guess the only alternative is to buy the DS copy, because it's like $150. It's like half the price.
I'm pretty sure that I sold that at some point too, when I sold like all my DS games.
Yeah,
that's wild. Like that Deadly Silence, the Resident Evil 1 port of Resident Evil 1 for the DS. That was pretty cool.
Wow,
that was a good game.
You know, like Chrono Trigger, I've just like come to accept that that's a game that I'm just gonna have to play. I have it on Steam, and I haven't gotten around to playing that version of it. I'm just gonna have to play it like that. That's really the only way I'm gonna get to play it. You know?
Researching stuff for tomorrow for the different composers, and I don't even think I knew this, but the guy that did the soundtrack for Chrono Trigger got really bad ulcers near the end of its development, and Nobuo Uematsu actually finished the soundtrack for Chrono Trigger.
When we covered Chrono Trigger and this other game, I remember I read that shit. Yeah, he apparently suffered stomach ulcers from the stress, and Nobuo Uematsu like finished it up for him. What's up?
So we may have to preface like this whole music episode as like a part one.
Like #2
yeah, I think so.
You might have to. Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing 2 episodes on this, honestly.
No, I think like
Phil at Microsoft to acknowledge that. It's good to see KI
well,
fans.
so I sent you. I did what you said, and I picked some composers, and then for like 3 or 4 composers, I picked a handful of soundtracks that each one of them did, and then I plucked some sample YouTube videos for you if you want to grab music for them. And so like when I grabbed like Nobuo Uematsu, I said Final Fantasy 2/4 because that's my favorite, but there's also some others. But then I also brought up like Yoko Shiomura, who did Final Fight, Street Fighter 2, and Super Mario Mario
that it had
RPG.
so many retweets
Like
and
she
mentions
was a
and
rock
just
star, especially
dominated
back
Twitter
then.
for what felt like 2
You know,
days
so
straight.
there's and I
People
pulled
give
some
a
of Tim
shit.
Follin's stuff
Like,
for
people
you
really,
on there, so we can
really
pick and
like
choose what we
KI.
want to talk about.
I just
I have
wanted
so
to let the
many
folks
like
know at
songs that I
Microsoft
just
how
don't even
many
know
people
even
this
who
game
like
has affected.
composed them
Not just me
too.
personally for the growth of my channel, which
Well,
has
like going by the
obviously been huge,
soundtrack makes a good like Max
Yeah.
said,
as,
instead
like,
of
a
just saying, oh, here's this one
lifelong
song this guy
player,
did, and it's like, no, let's
this
do
game, like,
Yeah.
Koji
touched a
Kondo
lot
and
of
talk
people
about,
in
you know, a
some
couple
way,
of
and
different
very
soundtracks he
deeply, where
did
they
besides Zelda
truly love it,
even,
where
you
it
know.
built
I
communities.
mean, it's like I was last time we were
fulfilled
watching this Killer
dreams. It
Instinct
did so
thing.
many things
I
that
mentioned
you want
"Beats
a
in My
fighting
Head,"
game
which
to do
is
to build a
the
community.
from
Like, the whole
Elena's
thing with
stage
esports now
on
is that everyone wants
in
this to
Third Strike.
become an
Yeah,
esport,
dude, that
but
shit
Killer
fucking
Instinct
kicks
did it
ass, and I don't even know
perfectly,
like
where we're just gonna prove that our game
wrote
is
that,
great.
who
We're just
composed it,
gonna
or
let
what. Like I
people
don't know.
play it,
Worthy of
and the
discussion.
community
Right,
grows
exactly.
from
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
the
It'd be more of a
individual
deep dive.
what a
That'd be
fight
more
is.
of a
Right,
deep
exactly.
dive.
Right, yeah.
That
It's not.
carried it
It's
to
one
the
of
point
those.
at
It's
which
like,
it had
man,
10
there's so much good
million
fucking
downloads,
video
where
game
people,
music.
word of
Yeah,
mouth
but
was
when you
just
find like
becoming
some of the
AI
people that
better
did
than marketing
that,
dollars
like the
ever
same
could.
people that did multiple
And
things,
I
like
think
the guy that and
especially with
his
the
name's
Bring Back
escaping me
AI
at the
campaign, we
moment, but
released
the
able
guy
to
that
reach
did the
enough people
soundtrack
that
for
felt
Mega
the
Man
same way
2.
I
So
did,
we're talking Mega Man
regardless
fucking
if they
2,
were
like
a
Wily's
competitor,
Fortress,
regardless
right?
if they just
While he
played
wasn't
it
the
a few times and
composer,
liked it or played
he
it
was
for
the
fun and liked it or
audio
still played
director
it,
on Metal Gear
everyone
Solid
could
1.
resonate that.
That's
Yeah,
important
like,
too. You
it's
know,
holy
like that's
shit.
massively
This is what I
important.
loved about Killer Instinct.
I'm glad you guys mentioned Ben Prunty
Prunty
because
at some points in my life. So
one of my
Michael Mann
favorites.
did the same for other people. And the cool thing about
Not just
KI as
FTL.
well is
I
that
actually
the
really
community
like
was
his
just
work with
amazing.
this. What
Everybody
was
that
the
was a
other
big
game
leader
from the same
helped
developer?
in some way. There's just so
Into the
many
Breach. I think his
pillars
work
of
on
this
Into the Breach was
community
even better. But
that
we'll
did
talk about all
stuff
that shit
for it,
tomorrow.
and just encouraged people to
I
play the
think Eric
game and
Brown
to
is the
keep playing the
best
game
modern-
and to
Yeah,
share.
That's the
100%,
messenger
yeah.
in the Sea of Stars guy.
Everybody just worked
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
We were all
He's
on the
pretty
same
good.
page,
He's
and
really
it felt
good.
that way.
That's why I was like,
Just
man, and we got to talk about
seeing
Encounter
how many
Elite. I
people
know we
touched,
jammed to that song last time when we
Oh,
covered
cool.
that game, but
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's
Oh,
like my
I
favorite
love
song
that
in the
game.
game.
I could listen to that
People are
soundtrack,
still
and don't forget the
into it.
entire
That's
sea shanty
awesome.
version of
It's
that game.
amazing.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, all the
Honestly,
sea shanties.
Dude, when I was
Yeah.
looking at Tim Fallon stuff, you know what Tim Fallon also
towards
did, Mac?
a
He
new
did
player
this. He did the
base.
soundtrack
One,
to
it was a new
Super
console.
Off-Road for the
There was a
Super
lot of people
Nintendo.
getting into
I'm like, holy shit, I love that game. I played the shit out of that
also,
game.
it was bringing back
Some of
a
these
franchise
composers,
that
I mean,
had
it's
been
like when we
long
talked
dormant
about
for such a
Silent
long
Hill
time, and it came
and
back with such a
Akito
big bang.
Yamaoka also
It's like,
did
yeah,
like
it's hard not to
NBA
remember that.
jams, like
The
NBA,
development
like
of the game was
he
really
like
cool
did
to
like
watch.
one of the
And I think
songs
that
for like an
also
NBA
is
game.
part of it, is
Yeah,
just
and he also
seeing
did
the
all the music
passion
for every
from the
single
developers,
Silent
seeing
Hill.
the passion from Microsoft, seeing the passion
It's
from
a
the
vibe.
fans,
Yeah,
and that
right.
all just fueled us to create something really
so many.
special.
I mean, looking
Yeah,
back on
I think-
it,
because
it really comes down to wanting to build a game that we wanted to play and we wanted to play with other people.
Music, you know,
Right.
Working on Killer Instinct
Yokoshi
was
Omura,
a
yeah.
dream of a lifetime.
But she also
I
did
made
other, like,
lifelong friends
again,
doing
that
it.
first level
I
of
hope I
Final
brought
Fight,
a
like
lot
in
of
that Final
smiles
Fight
to at least
music,
the
you
little
know?
work
I mean,
that
she did that
we were able to
soundtrack too.
accomplish.
And
I'm
it's like, holy
extremely
shit, that
happy
whole
that there was a
soundtrack
season
is
2 and a
bangers.
season
And then
3,
Super
and
Mario
it was
RPG,
done
she did
by
Super Mario
developers that we
RPG.
know and we
That
love.
whole
I
soundtrack is
couldn't have been more
bangers.
happy for
Yeah,
the
she's
successes
amazing,
of
and she's still
KI,
doing stuff.
for
You know
what
what
it's brought
she's
to
still
fans,
involved
for
with?
what it's
That
brought to me professionally and
Brainwave,
personally.
those
We
the
have a fighting
Japanese
game
guys
that's
that
not
I
like
told you,
any
the
other
sushi
fighting game on the
strikers.
planet. We have a unique
She's involved
combo
with those
system. We
guys.
have an
So,
interactive
yeah,
model
I
that like
think the
no other
best
fighting
way
game
would be
touches.
to
Like no one
just
else
we
does
each
what
pick
KI
a
does.
couple
There are only
people
really a couple
that
of
we
fighting
wanna
game
talk
developers
about,
in the world,
and
so
then
when
next
a game
time we
can
do
come
a
out
music episode,
and be as
we'll just
enjoyable
pick
as
more
KI
people.
is,
We'll go back
and
to our
on so
own
many
notes.
levels, I
Yeah.
think it
and
scratches scratches an itch
That's
that
cool.
people might have been missing from some of the other fighting games.
I
because
sent
they've
you
fallen
mine
into a
with
rut of
YouTube
doing
links
the
in
same
case you
things
want to
over and
pull
over
some
again.
sample music.
Part of it is the fact that we did
It's
these
in that
seasons piled
it's in that podcast
So
XL
anybody
that we
ever
used for the
tried
UFO
Killer
50
Instinct
also.
since
It's just in the
2013
episode
can
60
pick
tab.
it up today and see what's happened to it. And when you've been through that experience for a few years, especially as the core,
I just posted it
that
again in the group chat
feeding of new,
earlier tonight.
How do I react to this character? How do I react to that buff or this nerf?
The Google Drive.
Once that stopped, you do get it.
I don't know if you guys saw.
Yes.
Somebody made LeBron James in Street Fighter 6, and I don't know why I thought that was the funniest thing I've
Great.
ever seen in my life.
Whose moveset does he use though?
Is there a longer break?
I don't even know. I just
come
saw
on.
LeBron James and
what are we doing
like some of the
with this
pictures
chat?
in
We're
that
shipping new
Reddit
hardware that's
post are
gonna
the
play everything.
funniest things.
Because Sean's
I've
not
ever
in
seen.
Street Fighter
the hardware
6,
you
right? So
So I've got
No,
badass
Sean's not in
X
Street Fighter
They
6
will work
now.
on Series X.
I love his
So I
taunt
can
in
just
Street
take
Fighter
my
3.
basketball,
The third
yeah.
strike.
Plug it into
Yeah.
Series
So
X,
good.
Download
Him
the
and,
AI
him and Dudley, my favorite, because I
So
love
you
Dudley's
kind of have a
rose. I love to
future-proof
mess with people
game.
with the rose.
So my hope
I
is
love
anybody that
Dudley in
watches
general.
this
Like
or
Dudley
anybody
is
that
like
cares,
my
you just go on
my
and
favorite
continue to
character
play
probably in
Killer Instinct.
Third Strike.
Same, actually. He's probably
I
one of my
like his.
favorites.
I don't know. He's ducking and like. Yeah, I don't know.
It is
Yeah, he's
so
got
unique
jukes and he's got all kinds of
in
shit.
the
Yeah.
fighting
Very
game
fun.
space. It is a game based on two-way interactions where neither player is ever waiting for their turn And you're
I'm just
really
not a fan of like
always
half
engaged
circle
in some
motions.
sort
They're just
of
kind of
gamble
annoying,
or
but
gambit
yeah.
or mind
It's not
game
bad
You get
for
used
teams.
to I know, yeah, you get
It's just
used to it
something other games
exactly.
aren't bringing
It's
to
like for the
table
longest
yet.
time I could not
And you couple
touch
that with, like, the
Zangief, like
cohesive sound
Zangief's like
design
like
and great
360
netcode and
motions,
the way
but you
that
get used to it
launched
after a while. And you're
360
like,
is a
it's
little
fine.
harder,
a lot of
but
people who didn't
360 is
expect
harder,
fighting
but it's
games
actually
fell
in most
into.
like
That
modern
is
ones
why
they
the
make it
community
kind
is
of
so
easy.
cohesive
You don't have to
and
do a full
strong. I think we all
360.
have
There's a
memories
guy named Snake
that are
Eyes
kind
who
of
is a
inflated of
very
our
famous
first
Street Fighter
competitive
player,
fight.
and he
We really got
exclusively
into it.
plays
And those aren't
Geef.
necessarily because of the game, they're
And
because of the people.
the man, you
I
can
think there are
just
a lot
see
of
his
people
fingers.
love
If when you
with
see
what
when
KI
you look at him when he's
represents,
playing,
not
you can
necessarily
see
KI
his
itself,
fingers
because
just constantly
this
buffering
was their
movements.
first
Like I don't know how the
competitive
man
fighting
has
game.
any
This brought
skin
them
on
into a
his
whole new
fingers,
world.
on his
Yikes.
thumb.
They've
I
met
don't,
all these people who
because he
they
plays
now
pad.
consider
He's a
close
pad
friends
Geef
through the
player.
game.
He plays on
And
a
any game
D-pad.
can give you that.
That's what I
But
do,
did
honestly.
that
I mean,
for
I
just
play
such a
on I
massive
play with a
number of
D-pad. I don't use the I can't use the
and
analog
they
stick for
just
fighting
wanna
games. I don't know what it
relive
is.
that,
For me,
right?
it's just so
And
it feels
I think,
chunky. To
It's a
unfortunately,
me.
different
Like,
muscle
people
memory.
who are in
That's
that
I guess,
that's the
yeah.
thing.
really
It's a
need
totally
Right.
different muscle memory. That's like saying
They're not gonna
I
You're
can.
used to playing
by
on
playing
arcade
this
cabinets, so
one
the
or
joystick maybe
or
is like kind of
adding
more.
to this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
really
well,
wanna
it's like
see it.
saying I can drive
In
a
my
I can
opinion,
ride
I
a
think
motorcycle
this
because I
version
can
of
drive a
KI
car.
is still
Like
Okay.
just because they're both vehicles
Fair.
does not mean that they
super great,
operate.
super
the same.
brilliant.
On your
It's
notes
really
here, Buck, I don't think you
underexplored.
need one,
I think
two,
a lot
three,
of
four,
fighting game scientists
five
can come in here and break the lid off a lot of things players never
composers.
found.
No, well, like you
Play
said, we
KI
can chop it up
2013.
and
Yeah,
do it
well,
in
I
part
mean,
two.
I'm not
I don't
going to
wanna
play this
chop
game
it up
because
if
you
you
guys
can just
patch it
pick
too often.
two,
It
you know what I
updates too
mean?
much. I'll
Instead
come
of,
play when it's done. It's
Because
done.
you could just
come
like
play.
pick two
It's
and
really good.
maybe
The netcode's better
like
than
the
everything
Tim
else you're
Collins
playing right
stuff,
now,
you know, but
probably,
we could
unless
get,
you're
like, a
playing
little
MK
bit of
or Skullgirls or
preamble
whatever.
to
So yeah, just give it a try. You know, all you need is a small group
what
of friends
music
to
was
learn
like,
with, and you're gonna have a blast.
before.
So
If a
before
new
times.
KI comes
Yeah.
out, sure.
Well,
but
before
if people
first
really
video
want to
game
bring back
soundtrack
KI,
was.
Taishi would be the same
That's
for
all
that
I
too
ever
then
wanted
because he
since
started, with
season
like
one.
early Mega
all
Man
these
games.
people always
we
just like, I
each
love
pick
KI, it's my favorite game. Then you go to a tournament,
Two,
it's kind
that's
of like
eight,
kind
and
of
that's
quiet.
plenty, I
If you
think.
really, really want to bring back KI,
I know that
some of these other ones for next year or something. You know what I mean?
I was
Next-
I'm pretty sure that Venny will want to do either Nobuo Uematsu or Masayoshi Soken. I mean, he loves Final Fantasy 14 as much as I do, but he also loves the Final Fantasy series. So we can just ask him, and then we can take that one off. And then if I had to choose two, I'm okay with doing Tim Fallen, even though it's not like he's not a favorite composer of mine. But you're right, his stuff is pretty pivotal early stuff.
If we pick less things, it'll just we could get some more focused notes and everything.
Yeah. Well, if you want to do Tim Fallen, the other one I would probably want to pick would be Yokoshi Shimomura, unless you want to do her later because her shit's so expansive.
Dense, yeah.
I mean, it's a great question.
Because then I could do Taiishi just so I can talk about Mega Man music.
I'm trying to think if I have a classical composer that I want to touch on that isn't one of the ones that's on the list here.
Yeah. You tell me, because I'm always good with I'm good with splitting any.
Vinny, or well,
he looks like he's in Discord now. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let me think here.
He's a LaCroix boy. This LaCroix boy.
You guys are in the same voice chat. Just pop in and be like, "Hey, yo, Venny,
yeah,
what you doing, bro?"
Question here, yeah.
Mr. Lenigal, I got a quick question for y'all. I don't know why I did that in a Cajun accent.
That's so funny. Yeah, I just shared it in there too. Hey, hey, Venny, I got a question for you.
Hey, yo.
For music stuff tomorrow, did you pick any composers yet? Are you doing like Uematsu or Soken?
Yeah.
You doing who?
That's good shit.
Jeremy Soule.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah, Skyrim. Yeah.
So like, do you want us to just pick like
Tim? I
two
think we were gonna do
composers
two apiece. Do you want to do like Soken or Uematsu or something?
Is it too many? Should we just do one apiece?
We can do one. Well, Mac wanted me to do or just to talk about Tim Fallen, who did a lot of the old NES stuff, and then I was probably going to do either Shimomura, the chick that did like Street Fighter and Mario RPG, or a Taiishi, the guy that did Mega Man 2. Yoko Shimomura, yeah. Yeah, I know. She's a master class. I mean, come on, Street Fighter 2. So he said he'd do either Soken or Uematsu for a part 1 in addition to Jeremy Soule, or we can do one apiece if you want to, Mac. It's up to you. If you want to spend 10 minutes each on a person and talk about their discography.
Yeah, because I'm just, I guess, how do I put this?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we've got interesting stuff to say beyond all, because that Tim Fallon thing was the thing that inspired, because I was like, that is so interesting. All that, like what you said, like he discovered this thing about if you do this thing with the notes, and it's this, and there are other music, video game music people who have that same oeuvre in the sense that they have sort of like this either sweeping career that is sort of prolific in the form of like Nobuo Uematsu, where we could talk about just like the great thing about him is that he's made music for so long and it's always been really high quality. And I'm talking, he's been making music for like 30, 40 years. And it's been consistently good, which is just as interesting as the Tim Fallon thing. And then like for Eric Brown, I find him interesting because it's just like
his stuff's great.
Contemporary chiptune music is like
it's like synthwave almost too.
It's like a degree higher than chiptunes have been, in my opinion, up to that point.
Yeah, I agree.
I definitely like talk about Mick Gordon and how like Dune 2016, the way that game functions and how the music layers on top of each other, depending on what's on screen.
Because I feel like we've talked about that a couple times before, and I
might just want to do Uematsu.
I'm truly really worried.
Sure.
It's just like, it's just like Mick Gordon is good because the music just is good. Like the
music is high quality, but it's not
an orchestra in it, and just like the riffs match the theme of the game well.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, and also
he treated it like a movie composer would for a movie to a video game.
I find that more intriguing than the idea, like the fun fact that most people know, which is that the game soundtrack gets more intense the faster you move and kill.
Well, and it actually also just layers literal pieces of music on top of each other in places that it normally wouldn't, which is which I think is impressive.
I'm more interested, I think, in the music. Than anything to do with any of the games.
The actual game development portion of it,
or like this does the
it's more like let's talk about this as music. It just happens to be music in a video game.
Precisely.
I agree.
That's why I find
in that case, then I think I'd want to talk about Ben Prunty more than anything else, because I think Ben Prunty sets a mood better than any other composer I've ever.
The Tim Fallon thing is interesting because it's like he found a new way to play the instrument. You know.
Right. Yeah.
That's why me and Benny was just mentioning too, but it's like Uematsu is a good one to talk about then, because he is very emotion evoking. Like that's his thing.
He's he definitely specializes in expert composition, and like I said, for him, I think that's just the longevity of his career is so impressive. The fact that he's been, because he's not, I think he makes music for like Kingdom Hearts as well and other Square
so did Shimomura
things. And so it's just like it's a big
Shimomura.
career with a big talent there. So that I think is super interesting.
Okay. Well, I'm okay if you want to even pick some out. None of them, I listed them because none of them are going to hurt my feelings. And he said he's going to do Jeremy Soule, and then he can do Uematsu if we're doing 2 apiece. And if not, we will do 1, and it just is what it is.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't feel any need to cram it into one episode.
I would love to do more than one episode on this, honestly. That'd be fantastic.
And we don't have to wait a year. We can do it in 3, 4, 5, 6 months
if we wanted.
Honest to God, well, I was gonna say we could even do one episode and do another one a month later. Yeah, exactly. Like that's fine.
It's great subject
I'm
matter.
Gonna jump on some Wikipedia and do notes right after this on Tim Fallon and not Ben Prunty, but the other one,
Ed Brown.
Okay. Yeah. Because those are the ones that I find most interesting.
All right.
But.
Cool. Well, that way you at least have some tracks to pull. Some of my favorite tracks, depending on which one of these we pick. If you want to be able
I've been obsessed with Ben Prunty ever since I played FTL, so I'd love to talk about some Ben Prunty. Yeah,
I want to hear some Eric Brown, man. I want to hear that freaking Sea of Stars fight music again. Oh god, it was so good. It's running in my head right now. It's good shit.
I said, I'm just gonna try to jump on the internet and try to find interesting things like that are related to why the music is good or something like this. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like try to get artsy fartsy in regards to what the music is doing, I guess. And
so you want to do this game jam style where we each have we each pick 2 composers and kind of gush about them?
In a way, yeah. It's almost like I want to frame it as just like, okay, so like video games start,
Mm-hmm.
and then Pong, like for example, Pong has no background music.
Right. Sure.
And like, why? Well, because when you play chess, there's no background music. When you play checkers, there's no background music. When you go out and play
True,
football or
yeah.
golf, there's no background music. And
I
so
think
no
it was
one
a
was just like
technical
inherently.
limitation.
Well,
Yeah,
no,
most
I mean,
likely,
no,
yeah,
you
but
could
yeah,
say that,
like
but it's
it's-
also
yeah.
just
Okay.
like we're
They
inventing
could have
this
done
new
beats and
thing.
moves.
Okay, it's a
Right.
game. Okay, so it's like a game. It's a game. It's a game.
Does
And
it
then
have
eventually
music? Why
someone
would it have
says-
music?
Right.
Yeah.
No one. I don't think anyone says does it have music because. At
So
this
a good
point,
question-
movies like barely have music.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like,
So a good question is honestly, like, what is the first video game that has like a really notable
I'm gonna
score?
look that up.
Yeah, I'm
because
curious
that'll
about that actually
sort
because
of
I don't know.
Influence the idea of basically movies, for example, can have music in them, but do not have music all the time. Video games can kind of be the same way, but they certainly cannot have no music at all, which sometimes movies can get away with. But there are very few video games that have no music that if you play them, you wouldn't go, what the fuck?
Right.
And that's just like a thing that you can say, like, well, obviously, well, it's like, well, that's because you're steeped in it. You've lived your whole life with video games that have music behind them. But
Right, yeah.
if you're an
Mm-hmm.
alien from another planet, you might
Beep, boop,
say,
beep.
like, that's interesting that this art form sort of inherently has to have music in it. And yet this other one, like movies or TV, does not need to have music in it the entire time. Why is that? And what, and then you get into how it's been treated over the years, which is it first gets treated sort of like a carnival act where it, the music being like boop, bop, beep, beep, beep is like, it's fine, fucking put it out there.
Right.
But then eventually somebody starts taking it seriously, and then someone takes it more seriously, aka
Yeah.
Tim Fallon. And
Yeah.
then, we can slowly just treat each level of this with respect till we get to Eric Brown, where it's just like, now we've got this guy that's just like,
A phenom.
really
right. Yep.
playing music, like funk, like jazz music, funk music, rock music, and translating it into this chiptune art style with full sincerity.
Yep.
So maybe we should honestly kind of avoid a lot of the artists that we've already kind of like. I wanted to talk about Akira Yamaoka, but I kind of gushed about him during the Silent Hill episode.
Yeah, it's very rare.
Yeah.
It's good to retread water. It's always better
like-
to just do something new whenever possible.
Mick Gordon, honestly, I would love to talk about Mick Gordon, but we could, but there's not much. I don't know. I don't think there's a whole lot
Right.
to say about Mick Gordon besides the Doom 2016 soundtrack.
Right.
And then Doom Eternal. You can talk about the fact that he got shafted by Bethesda, but I don't want to get too deep into that on this episode because that's not what we're
think-
talking about.
If you wanted to touch on Doom, you would need to do some research about the
Right.
orchestra.
Sure.
Because to me, not every video game has a full orchestra behind it, let alone
Right.
one that's just like,
Yeah,
all
no
right,
kidding.
what's one of the instruments in the orchestra? A guitar with an insane heavy metal pedal on it.
Right,
You know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah.
So there's got to be some interesting tidbits that you can look up on Wikipedia that aren't just like, it sounds cool. Like there's
Yeah.
probably like, okay, the guy that
Yeah.
plays the
I
guitar
love
is
cool.
a Finnish guy named
Yeah.
Jokar Schmerger, and the
Kiergan.
the orchestra is the this and that orchestra, and they also are famous for recording this, and he chose them because this, and usually video games don't have orchestra. The only other video game with an orchestra, I don't know. There's if you wanted to do that, I would like us to bring something like that as opposed to just being like the music in Street Fighter is so good. You need to be like, it's made by this lady who grew up in Japan during this time, and she's influenced by this music, and
that's
you know
fun.
what I mean? Like,
That's a good point.
Did any one particular artist work on the Persona 5 Royal soundtrack? Because that's also
great
another one that I
question.
kind of wanted.
I know Mr. Venecor said something about like that. That would be.
I know
definitely-
Lynn.
I googled
yeah.
it, and I know there is an in-house band in Sega Team that it is.
Yeah.
And it's
There's-
the people that work on all the Atlas soundtracks.
I'm seeing
Right.
the
I'm
Atlas
sure we
sound
could do
team.
some digging to find out, like, okay,
Yeah.
the band is led by this guy.
Well, and I
He
also
grew
see
up,
a woman too, Lynn Inayazumi, which I think might be the singer on a lot of the tracks too.
Whatever
but that's
it
right,
is,
yeah,
If you want
exactly.
to bring
yeah.
something to the table,
Do some
a
research
little
on it, yeah.
homework that
Yeah.
isn't just like, here, listen to the music, it's good, because that's something that anyone can do.
Fair
we
enough,
want
fair
to bring
enough.
something to the table that's just like, all right, that's why I say comparing these things to their peers is one of the actually most interesting things. It's like what I think is going to be the most interesting thing about Tim Fallon is what I would like to do is find music for video games that came out around the video games that he put out, to be like, all right, this is this is music that he did. This is a video game from the same year, and it would just sounds like shit. You know what I mean? You're like, look at what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is that
you're better at that than
yeah, there are geniuses out here that can, you know, make actual good music with these within these parameters.
Cue the Jerry from Rick and Morty. Human music. I like it.
Yeah, I like it. So this is human music. yeah. But yeah,
all right.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna jump on my laptop now.
We could talk about more of that in the morning. Preview for that next week's episode, everybody.
Yeah.
You got a little peek behind the curtain here, everybody.
What's tomorrow's episode that's coming out?
Tomorrow's episode that's coming out is the Surreal Games episode.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
That ended up being really good. I wasn't sure if we were gonna pull that off, but it went pretty good.
Yeah, make sure to watch that one for a special funny effect I did in honor of David Lynch right at the very beginning.
Did you turn into electricity?
No, I tried pulling clips of him talking about electricity, but they are all super low quality rips. But yeah, so that's it for us. Check out his stuff next week. Go to our Patreon, patreon.com/thegtp. Like and subscribe. That's it for me. You guys don't have anything, of course, right?
Nope.
All right,
Check
I'm
out our
gonna
merch.
jump on my laptop and do some research on some of these composers and on that second line of UFO 50 games.
Nice. I've got that all updated for you with videos,
yes,
with
perfect.
links and videos.
My name is Max Stein, and until next week, video games, schmidio games, everyone. Goodbye.
See ya.